Previously, Guan uncovered the hidden Eight Sceneries Cave Heaven beneath Mystic Valley, where a 7th-grade Azure Vine tree and countless rare spirit herbs allowed him to accumulate an enormous amount of lifespan. Using that lifespan, he secretly advanced all the way to the Nascent Soul Realm, mastered powerful sword techniques, and continued hiding behind the identity of an ordinary servant disciple. But peace within Mystic Valley did not last. Meng Lang was transformed into a terrifying medicinal corpse. Guan discovered that his grandmaster Jiang Qiong was still alive beneath the valley, and the Thousand Autumn Pavilion's influence reached far deeper into the Taishuan sect than he had imagined. Now, as powerful cultivators gather for the Outer Sect Grand Assembly, Guan must protect his quiet life while concealing strength great enough to kill Foundation establishment experts with nothing more than a falling leaf. Let us continue with Episode 3. Guan took his first bite of the Azure Vine Fruit and immediately felt a warm current spread through his entire body. It worked. He began eating in large mouthfuls. Before long, the enormous Azure Vine Fruit had been completely devoured. As he digested it, he summoned his attribute panel and waited expectantly for his lifespan to increase. Yet he waited for a full half an hour. His lifespan did not rise at all. His vitality, however, had increased considerably, and his body had grown even stronger. What is going on? Is my cultivation realm too high? Or is this fruit only suitable for spirit beasts and demonic beasts? Guan wondered. He looked toward the white spirit rat sleeping soundly on the table. Its lifespan was no longer increasing, but its aura continued to grow stronger. He would wait and see. The white spirit rat slept for 3 consecutive days. When it finally woke, it had grown to the size of an adult cat. It leaped into Guan's arms and rubbed against him affectionately, though its eyes remained fixed on the wooden cabinet behind him. You are not allowed to eat too much. Guan spoke softly without looking up from his book. If it continued growing, it would inevitably cause trouble. Xiaoxuan and the others would become curious, for one thing. Lu Jujia and Ye Lan would enter the outer sect sooner or later. Guan did not want them learning too many of his secrets. The white spirit rat looked at him pitifully, then gave a small nod. Guan's eyes widened. It understood him? He pointed to the side with his right hand. Come here. The white spirit rat immediately jumped over without the slightest hesitation. Guan continued giving it commands. As long as the instructions were not too complicated, the white spirit rat obeyed every one of them. He found himself growing increasingly fond of the creature. At last, it was beginning to resemble a true spirit beast. Guan carried the white spirit rat out of the room. Autumn had arrived. Dry leaves covered every medicinal garden, and Xiaoxuan and the others were busy sweeping them away. The Medicine Valley was peaceful and quiet. Guan descended the stairs, set the white spirit rat on the ground and said, "Do not eat anything you are not supposed to." As he spoke, he pointed at its mouth. The white spirit rat nodded as though it understood, then turned and bounded away. The sight gave Guan a strange expression. Why did it look more like a rabbit? Could the Azure Vine Fruit have altered more than its lifespan? Had it even changed the creature's bloodline? Yi Lan was the first to notice it. Her attention had initially been drawn to Guan, but then she saw an enormous white-furred rat running toward her, and her expression changed at once. A rat demon! Her startled cry immediately drew the attention of Lu Jujia, Xiaoxuan, and Wu Xin. The moment they saw the white spirit rat, they all recoiled in alarm. None of them had ever seen a rat so large. "White spirit rat, slow down!" Guan's voice came from behind. The white spirit rat stopped at once. It looked back at him, then turned toward the mountain forest and continued on at a much slower pace. Seeing this, Yi Lan and the others hurriedly dropped their tools and gathered around Guan. "Senior brother, is that the white spirit rat you raised? Why has it grown so large? Could it be a different white spirit rat? It looks a little foolish. It does not seem very steady on its feet. That spirit beast's bloodline is definitely unusual." Guan merely smiled as his junior brothers and sister debated among themselves. He allowed them to speculate. After a moment, he looked at everyone and said, "In a little while, I plan to make a trip to the Outer Sect. Who wants to come with me?" The moment he finished speaking, everyone except Wu Xin volunteered. What an excellent opportunity. Wu Xin remained expressionless, but inwardly he was thrilled. After a round of arguing, Guan ultimately decided to bring Ye Lan and Xiaoxuan. The trip was scheduled for 7 days later. Why 7 days? Because before then, he wanted to investigate the 8 Sceneries Grotto Heaven thoroughly. Guan turned toward the valley entrance. A figure was walking inside. It was Li Ya. They had not seen each other for many years. Li Ya now carried an air of hardship and coldness. His black robes fluttered in the autumn wind, and the sword at his waist completed the image of an aloof, proud swordsman. Xiaoxuan and the other 3 noticed him as well. His appearance made them tense. Anyone who came to their Medicine Valley generally possessed a higher status than they did, and this man looked particularly dangerous. Guan used lifespan inspection and discovered that Li Ya had already reached the 4th level of the Foundation Establishment realm. So fast, as expected of the first person I ever identified as possessing the destiny of a protagonist. Guan walked forward, with the others following closely behind. Li Ya swept his gaze across the Medicine Valley. When his eyes settled on Guan, he paused in surprise. Back then, Guan had always followed behind others. Now he was leading the valley's other servant disciples. The scenery remained familiar, but the people had changed. Guan stopped in front of him, cupped his hands, and smiled. "Brother Li, it has been a long time. Is he injured?" Guan could sense the disorder in Li Ya's blood and qi. His breathing was weak, clearly indicating internal injuries. Li Ya smiled. "It truly has been a long time. Where are Master, eldest senior brother, and Meng Lang?" Guan answered helplessly. Master's final years were approaching, so he left some time ago. Eldest senior brother departed the valley after you did. As for Meng Lang, he went to take the Outer Sect examination and never returned. Li Ya froze upon hearing this. Behind them, Xiaoshuan and the others whispered among themselves. They had roughly guessed Li Ya's identity. Meng Lang had often boasted that a member of the imperial clan had once worked here as a servant disciple, and called him brother. Li Ya sighed with emotion. "So you are the only one left. Would you like to come inside and sit for a while?" Guan asked. Li Ya nodded. He had come not only to revisit the place where he had once lived, but also to recover from his injuries. This was the only place where he felt truly safe. Guan led Li Ya toward the Valley Master's pavilion, and gestured for the others to continue clearing the fallen leaves. When Li Ya climbed the pavilion stairs, memories surged through him. He could not suppress a cough, and his face immediately turned pale. Walking ahead, Guan's expression changed. He sensed a faint fluctuation of soul power from Li Ya's body. Amazing. Did this fellow truly have an ancient grandfather spirit accompanying him? Guan turned around and asked with concern, "Brother Li, what is wrong?" Li Ya waved a hand. "Nothing. It is only a minor injury." "You are injured? Then stay here and recover for the time being. The Medicine Valley has plenty of empty rooms," Guan said immediately. Li Ya smiled and nodded. Junior brother Gu is still as considerate as ever. This time I must find some way to help him. The two entered the room. Guan had Li Ya sit, then began preparing tea. Li Ya examined the room, and his attention was soon drawn to the Azure Vine Fruits inside the wooden cabinet. Over the past 3 days, Guan had stored most of them inside his storage pouch, leaving only 2 in the cabinet. This was purely to keep the white spirit rat from stealing them. If the little beast truly ate one in secret, Guan would never have the heart to kill it. It was easier to hide the fruits. "That fruit?" Li Ya narrowed his eyes, but did not stare for long. His gaze soon shifted back to Guan. After so many years apart, Li Ya was genuinely astonished by Guan's bearing. Guan had always possessed refined features, but in the past he had lacked the striking presence he now carried. He resembled a great cultivator from the inner sect, calm, steady, and faintly detached from the mortal world. If Li Ya had not sensed that Guan's aura remained at only the 4th level of the Qi refining realm, he might have suspected that the man before him was not the Guan he remembered. While waiting for the water to boil, Guan sat across from him and began chatting. To keep the atmosphere from becoming awkward, he asked about life in the Outer Sect, and Li Ya answered his questions one by one. "Are Outer disciples required to complete at least one bounty mission every year?" Guan asked curiously. Li Ya smiled. "Yes, and the missions require us to leave the sect. Have you encountered demons? Nearly every time I go out. The Taichang dynasty is vast, and there are always places plagued by demons and monsters. Last year, I nearly died outside the sect. We encountered a 3rd-grade demonic beast, one comparable to a core formation cultivator. Several close friends and I fought desperately. One of us died, while the rest escaped with severe injuries." As Li Ya spoke, fear appeared in his eyes. 3rd grade? Comparable to the core formation realm? Guan feigned shock, helping Li Ya release some of the frustration he had carried inside. Li Ya then began describing the encounter in detail. Guan listened as though hearing a thrilling story, and his reactions were completely sincere. In truth, Li Ya's experiences genuinely fascinated him. After hearing everything, Guan had only one conclusion. Far too dangerous. Fortunately, he had never become an outer disciple. Demons are not the only threat. You must also beware of other cultivators. While searching for treasure, I once clashed with a disciple from another sect. We pursued and fought each other for half a month. I finally managed to kill him. Then guess what happened? Li Ya grew animated as he began another story. "His father came looking for you?" Guan guessed. Li Ya stared at him in surprise, then shook his head. "Not his father, but close enough. His master came." Impressive. Guan felt even more grateful that he had never joined the Outer Sect. If Outer Sect life was already this dangerous, how much worse must it be for inner disciples? Li Ya continued describing how he had matched wits and exchanged ruthless schemes with the dead man's master. Guan felt as though he were listening to a professional storyteller. It was extremely entertaining. Once the water boiled, Guan rose to make tea. Li Ya asked casually, "Junior brother Gu, did master leave those fruits in the cabinet?" With his back turned, Guan replied, "I found them outside. Have you forgotten? The white spirit rat is also known as a treasure-seeking rat." Li Ya raised an eyebrow. It could truly locate treasure? He suddenly wanted to raise a white spirit rat of his own. After hesitating for a moment, he said, "Junior brother Gu, could you give me one fruit to help heal my injuries? I will not take advantage of you. Would you prefer a secret manual or a magical artifact in exchange?" Guan turned around, set a cup of tea before Li Ya, and answered lightly, "Just take one. Why would I ask you for anything? What kind of relationship do we have?" Li Ya was deeply moved. During his years in the Outer Sect, he had made close friends, but every friendship involved mutual benefit. No one had ever treated him this generously without asking for repayment. After speaking, Guan walked to the cabinet, took out an Azure Vine Fruit, and placed it beside Li Ya's teacup. The gesture made Li Ya feel even more ashamed. Li Ya, you once looked down on him and despised the Medicine Valley. You entered the Outer Sect, yet in the end, you still had to rely on him to save you." Mocking himself inwardly, Li Ya reached into his storage pouch and withdrew a treasured sword. Its scabbard was emerald green and set with jewels. Intricate patterns covered its surface, giving it an air of wealth and magnificence. The hilt resembled a dark golden dragon coiled around itself. Li Ya placed the sword on the table, producing a deep yet ringing sound. He stroked the scabbard and said softly, "My mother gave me this sword, now I give it to you. One day, it may save your life." Guan was startled by the weapon. Although the blade remained sheathed, he could sense the immense power hidden within it. He was a nascent soul cultivator, after all. His perception and judgment far exceeded Li Ya's. This was unquestionably a divine weapon. "No, this sword is a keepsake from your mother. How could I accept it?" Guan hurriedly waved his hands. He truly meant it. A treasured sword with such a history likely concealed complicated consequences and would easily bring trouble. Li Ya lowered his eyes toward the scabbard, sinking into his memories. "This sword is called Tian Su. It has accompanied me since I was 3 years old. At present, I cannot display its full power, and I no longer possess the right to wield it. Leaving it with you may be for the best. Perhaps in this Medicine Valley, it will wait until the person truly destined for it appears." Guan asked suspiciously, "Why do you no longer have the right to use it? Is this sword connected to the imperial family? If so, I dare not accept it." The mere thought of becoming entangled with the Li imperial clan gave him a headache. The sword was extraordinarily beautiful, and he truly liked it, but he wanted peace even more. Li Ya looked at him and smiled. "You would not understand even if I explained everything. Do not worry. This sword will not bring you trouble. No member of the Li clan would dare seize it. It was the betrothal gift my imperial father gave my mother. If anyone from the clan sees it in your possession, they will be even less willing to harm you. In the future, should you encounter a problem you cannot resolve, you may carry this sword to Chang'e and seek my imperial father. How could someone of my lowly status be granted an audience with his majesty? Do not worry. The moment Tian Su appears in Chang'e, my imperial father will sense it. In any case, you must accept it. Otherwise, I will not eat this fruit." "Then do not eat it." The words nearly escaped Guan's mouth, but he restrained himself. He looked at Tian Su again. Come to think of it, he still did not own a magical artifact. Cheng Xuanden's inheritance had contained only talismans, not a single artifact or even an ordinary sword. What was there to fear? He was a mighty nascent soul cultivator. If the weapon truly brought trouble beyond his ability to resist, he could simply throw it to whoever came for it. Guan took a deep breath and reached out for Tian Su. The sword was unexpectedly heavy. His right hand trembled as he lifted it, causing Li Ya to burst into laughter. "Junior brother Gu, your aptitude may be ordinary, but you should not neglect cultivation. I taught you the 7 swords of the Li family. You should practice them whenever possible," Li Ya advised earnestly. Holding Tian Su in both hands, Guan forced a smile and nodded. "Ha! Young man, your eyes still require a great deal of training." Li Ya remained in the Medicine Valley. Guan personally arranged a private courtyard for him, where no one would disturb his recovery. Li Ya sat cross-legged on the bed. Half of the Azure Vine Fruit rested beside him. His hands formed changing seals as he continuously circulated his cultivation art to heal himself. A faint blue phantom emerged from his body and drifted through the room. It was an elderly man with kindly features. His Taoist robes fluttered gently, and he carried the bearing of an enlightened expert. Li Ya opened his eyes. "Ancestor, what kind of fruit is this? Its medicinal power is overwhelming." The soul form elder, whom Li Ya addressed as ancestor, first waved a hand, causing ripples to spread through the space around the room. Then he stroked his beard and smiled. "This should be an Azure Vine Fruit produced by the Azure Vine Tree, the sacred tree of the heavenly Autumn Pavilion. Even the lowest quality Azure Vine Fruit is 6th grade. It seems fortune has favored you." A fruit of the Heavenly Autumn Pavilion? Has the Heavenly Autumn Pavilion infiltrated the sect this deeply? No wonder the Taishuan sect regards it as a mortal enemy, Li Ya murmured. The ancestor looked at the fruit. The Heavenly Autumn Pavilion and the Taishuan sect have accumulated more than 1,000 years of hatred. Each side has planted countless pieces within the other. Your junior brother Gu is fortunate. Had he not met you, this Azure Vine Fruit might have brought disaster upon him. Li Ya shook his head. It is not that he is fortunate. He is kind and values loyalty. A man like him will naturally receive blessings. The fortunate one is me, the ancestor nodded. That is reasonable. Such people are indeed rare in the cultivation world. Still, you need not feel too guilty. Giving him Tiansu means far more to him than the Azure Vine Fruit means to you. At the mention of Tiansu, Li Ya sighed. I have disappointed Mother's expectations, but I truly have no desire to fight for the throne. I want only to avenge her, then travel the world and leave the struggles of the imperial court behind. Tiansu is one of the 3 imperial swords of Taikong. To fully unleash its power, one must master the imperial extreme sword art. Your peerless 9 swords have only reached minor completion. I fear another 100 years will be required before you can master the imperial extreme sword art, the elder said thoughtfully. Li Ya fell silent. The ancestor teased him. You could not even defeat that boy Xiang with ease. You still have much work ahead of you. Do not forget your 4th brother has already reached the core formation realm. Li Ya took a deep breath. Without saying anything more, he closed his eyes and continued healing. The ancestor looked toward the window. Although it was shut, he could still hear Xiaochuan and the others laughing outside. This is a good place, far removed from worldly struggle. Unfortunately, one who carries a predetermined destiny is not suited to remain here. Enough. I should stop sighing. It is time to sleep again and restore my spirit. Late that night, Mystic Valley lay in silence. Guan used the dragon whale divine origin art to conceal his aura, slipped quietly out of the valley, and traveled to a forest more than 20 li away. He sat beneath a tree, summoned his attribute panel, and fixed his gaze on the 7 swords of the Li family. How many years of lifespan should he invest? The more he considered it, the more he felt that he should spend generously this time and strengthen his true combat ability. 2,000 years then, just this once. Afterward, he would settle down and live quietly until he accumulated 100,000 years. He immediately chose to invest 2,000 years of lifespan. The moment the thought formed, the first digit of his remaining lifespan fell from 4 to 2. You have invested 2,000 years of lifespan into the 7 swords of the Li family to evolve its cultivation. Oh. After cultivating the 7 swords of the Li family for 10 years, your swordsmanship reaches major completion, and you begin considering further possibilities. Oh. After cultivating the 7 swords of the Li family for 50 years, your swordsmanship reaches its peak. The 7 swords of the Li family advances into the 7 swords art. After cultivating the 7 swords of the Li family for 300 years, your 7 swords art reaches its peak. The 7 swords art advances into the peerless 9 swords. After cultivating the 7 swords of the Li family for 500 years, your peerless 9 swords reaches major completion, and you condense sword intent of your own. After cultivating the 7 swords of the Li family for 1,000 years, your peerless 9 swords returns to simplicity and truth. The peerless 9 swords advances into the imperial extreme sword art. After cultivating the 7 swords of the Li family for 1,200 years, your sword intent condenses imperial ki from heaven and earth, increasing your comprehension of the sword Tao. After cultivating the 7 swords of the Li family for 1,800 years, your imperial's extreme sword art returns to simplicity and truth. Your sword intent resonates with the sword Tao, allowing you to comprehend its true essence. You enter a state of enlightenment, and the imperial extreme sword art advances into the Taikang Heaven Shocking Sword. After cultivating the 7 swords of the Li family for 2,000 years, your Taikang Heaven Shocking Sword reaches the realm of complete integration, and your comprehension of the sword Tao increases.
Oh!
Messages appeared one after another. When the simulated cultivation reached 1,000 years, Guan immediately activated the lifespan barrier. He feared disturbing both the mysterious existence beneath the ground and the soul hidden within Li Ya's body. When the messages finally stopped, an enormous flood of memories poured into his mind. Spiritual energy erupted from the earth. Instead of entering his body, it gathered around him. Threads of cold radiance gradually condensed within the energy, resembling sword light as they shimmered strangely beneath the night sky. Guan sank into a state of enlightenment. He did not know how much time had passed before he gradually regained awareness. The sky was still dark. His first action was to examine the lifespan barrier's consumption notice. Good heavens. Merely comprehending the sword art had consumed 300 years of lifespan. Fortunately, he had completely mastered the Taikang Heaven Shocking Sword, and his understanding of the sword Tao had reached a profound realm of transformation. The sensation was indescribably wondrous, leaving him in an excellent mood. Looking at his attribute panel again, he saw that the 7 swords of the Li family had become the Taikong heaven-shocking sword beneath the ultimate arts category. Beside it appeared the words, completely integrated. He did not rise immediately. Instead, he took out Tian Su, laid the sheathed sword across his lap, rested both hands upon the scabbard, and gently closed his eyes. He was sensing the sword intent contained within the weapon. Once Tian Su's sword intent merged with his own, he would be able to subdue and command the treasured sword. Numerous restrictions existed within it, each resembling a magical barrier that awaited the sword master to break through with spiritual sense and spiritual power. Guan knew nothing about restrictions. Fortunately, he possessed sword intent of his own, and that intent pierced directly through the barriers. Half an hour later, Guan stored Tian Su inside his storage pouch, and headed back toward Mystic Valley. With a single step, he rose into the air. Sword chi condensed beneath his feet, and he rode upon it through the night. When he came within 10 li of Mystic Valley, he descended, continued forward on foot, and suppressed his aura to the absolute minimum. The night slowly faded. A pale red glow appeared in the eastern sky. Dawn had arrived. Liya pushed open his door and welcomed the morning light. He stretched wearily and felt refreshed throughout his entire body. The medicinal power of the Azure Vine Fruit was truly astonishing. He no longer felt nearly as miserable as before. At this rate, he would fully recover within a few days. Liya smiled. His gaze moved toward the grass beside a distant garden, where Guan was leading his junior brothers and sister through a series of physical exercises. The movements made Liya curious. They were extremely slow, yet for some inexplicable reason, he sensed a trace of profundity within them. He walked over. Guan greeted him, and Liya nodded in response. "What are all of you practicing?" Liya asked curiously. Guan smiled. "I learned these movements from an old man when I was young. They strengthen the body and keep the mind refreshed. I lead everyone through them each morning so they can begin the day in good spirits." Lu Jiujia muttered. "Honestly, I do not think they do anything." Xiaoshuan glared at him. "That is only because your aptitude is poor," Liya said. "They are indeed beneficial, but the results require long-term persistence." Coming from an outer disciple, his words naturally convinced everyone. Guan glanced at Liya and felt that the man had become much gentler. He could even say something so considerate. In truth, Guan's main reason for leading the others through these exercises was to pull their minds away from cultivation and grand dreams, preventing them from carelessly damaging his flowers and medicinal plants. "After you finish, how about I teach everyone a sword art?" Liya asked with a hearty laugh. Xiaoshuan and the others immediately became excited. They thanked him one after another and eagerly called him senior brother Liya. Liya looked toward Guan. "You should join us as well. You have a sword now, so it is the perfect opportunity to practice more." Guan smiled and nodded. "Very well. Let me see how far you have cultivated the 7 swords of the Li family." Liya's participation made the atmosphere even livelier. Watching the noisy junior disciples, he did not feel annoyed. Instead, he found himself genuinely happy. At noon, Liya pulled Guan into the mountain forest. "Show me what you have learned of the 7 swords of the Li family. The sooner you master the foundation, the sooner I can teach you true swordsmanship. The 7 swords are only basic movements," Liya said seriously. Guan could not persuade him otherwise. In the end, he reluctantly performed a version of the 7 swords filled with obvious flaws. Only then did he realize that pretending to be incompetent was even harder than pretending to be skilled. Faced with Guan's stiff and awkward sword movements, Liya criticized him for quite some time before patiently beginning to correct his form. From Liya's movements, Guan could tell that he cultivated the peerless 9 swords. He truly was a genius. At least in swordsmanship, Liya's natural talent far surpassed Guan's. The next day, Liya again invited Guan to practice. Guan could endure no more. "Brother Li, I truly have no talent for swordsmanship. Let us forget it. I may only have a few decades of life. If I spend them all bitterly practicing the sword, would that not be a waste? Compared with sword training, I would rather plant flowers and water them." Guan sighed as he spoke. Secretly, he circulated the dragon force within his body, making his eyes slightly red. Liya stood holding his sword. The sight suddenly filled him with sorrow. What was he doing? Was he trying to repay junior brother Gu by forcing upon him the path that he himself loved? Was this not a form of cruelty? Liya remembered his childhood, when his imperial father had forced him to study alongside his older imperial brothers. Everything those princes excelled at had been beyond his own ability. He sighed, walked to Guan, and patted his shoulder. "Junior brother Gu, I failed to consider your feelings. I am sorry." Guan forced a smile. "It is all right. Senior brother only wished to help me. I am simply useless and my aptitude is insufficient." The more he spoke that way, the guiltier Liya felt. The two sat down and began reminiscing about their first year in the valley, dissolving the tension created by the sword training. Over the following days, Li Ya no longer pressured Guan to practice. He still spent 1 hour every day teaching Xiaoshuan and the others. For people like them, who still carried dreams of cultivation, the opportunity to learn swordsmanship from an outer disciple was extraordinarily precious. 5 days later, Li Ya prepared to leave. Guan led his junior brothers and sister to see him off at the valley entrance. Xiaoshuan and the others were deeply reluctant to part with him. They had learned far too much during his brief stay. "Senior brother, this place will always be your home. Come back and visit often," Guan said with obvious reluctance. Home? Emotion stirred within Li Ya. On the surface, however, his smile remained calm and effortless, like drifting clouds over flowing water. "I will return." With that, he turned and departed. Dressed entirely in black, he resembled a dark flame burning fiercely through the mountain forest. Even the cold autumn wind could not extinguish the fire in his heart. Guan sensed that Li Ya was burning with renewed fighting spirit, perhaps because of the injuries he had suffered. Only after Li Ya vanished into the depths of the forest did Guan withdraw his gaze. He turned toward his junior disciples and smiled. "Cultivate properly. Enter the Outer Sect as soon as possible. Find senior brother Li, and bring honor to our mystic valley." Lu Jujia immediately declared his ambitions in a heroic voice, swearing that he would enter the Outer Sect. Xiaoshuan said the same, though with noticeably less force. Yilan seemed preoccupied, lost in thoughts of her own. Wu Xin suddenly said, "I will not enter the Outer Sect. I want to remain beside eldest senior brother for my entire life." The moment he spoke, everyone stared at him in astonishment, including Guan. This fellow, Guan felt faintly moved. Had he misunderstood Wu Xin? Recently, Wu Xin had behaved obediently and no longer wandered around secretly at night. Nothing had ever gone missing from Mystic Valley. So for the time being, Guan could not conclude that he harbored malicious intentions. In that case, he would assign Wu Xin a little more work in the future. Yilan immediately regretted not saying those words first. At the same time, she realized that although eldest senior brother was extremely important to her, he was not more important than cultivating immortality and pursuing longevity. Lu Jujia could not resist mocking Wu Xin for being an expert flatterer. Xiaoshuan, Yilan, and Wu Xin immediately began arguing with him. Guan led them back into the valley while thinking about the hidden world underground. Li Ya had left. It was time to deal with the problem beneath the earth. Late at night, inside the 8 Sceneries Grotto Heaven, Guan approached Meng Lang while holding the sheathed Tiansu sword. Meng Lang still lay motionless on the grass, his 7 apertures sealed with mud. There are signs that the grass around him has been disturbed. Someone truly has been here. Guan quickly noticed minute changes around the patch of grass where Meng Lang lay. An ordinary cultivator would have found them almost impossible to detect. Guan only noticed because he had deliberately memorized the surroundings before leaving last time. He tightened his grip on Tiansu and walked toward the tunnel from which Meng Lang had previously emerged. Before long, his figure disappeared into the darkness. Few crystals had been embedded along this passage, leaving it almost completely black. To the spiritual sense of a nascent soul cultivator, however, the darkness posed no obstacle at all. Cold spiritual wind howled through the tunnel and stirred Guan's robes. His spiritual sense had already traveled ahead, reaching the chamber at the passage's end. It was a spacious cavern. Although smaller than the central chamber of the 8 Sceneries Grotto Heaven, it was still enormous. Countless coffins stood upright inside. A blue-green crystal, the size of a water vat, had been embedded in the cavern ceiling. Its dim radiance fell across the coffins, making them appear even more sinister and terrifying. Apart from the coffins, the chamber seemed empty. Guan's spiritual sense immediately detected a living person inside one of them. That faint trace of vitality could not escape the perception of a nascent soul cultivator. He sensed no immediate danger from it, but he did not lower his guard. He continued forward. After some time, he finally reached the end of the passage. Standing at the cavern entrance, he examined the chamber cautiously and called out, "Is anyone there?" No one answered. It was as though the cavern contained no living person at all. Guan picked up a stone and tossed it inside. Tap. The stone struck one of the coffins. Nothing moved, but Guan pretended to be frightened and widened his eyes. He instinctively stepped back, acting as though he were terrified. Why is she still not speaking? If I continue this performance, it will become ridiculous. Guan grew impatient. He was behaving this way because he wanted to determine the hidden person's attitude. The other party had never harmed him. He did not want to accidentally kill someone innocent. At the very least, he wanted his conscience to remain clear. Clenching his teeth, Guan suddenly drew Tiansu and rushed into the cavern, wildly slashing at the coffins. Crack! The blade struck the side of one coffin and became lodged inside it. He pulled hard. When the sword came free, the momentum sent him staggering back 2 steps. A soft laugh echoed through the cavern, sounding especially sharp in the oppressive silence. Gooseflesh rose across Guan's skin. It was a woman's voice. At first hearing, it resembled the laughter of a female ghost. Holding Tiansu in both hands, Guan nervously swept his gaze around the chamber. He continually turned in place, as though afraid that a demon or evil spirit might suddenly leap at him from the side. "Boy, are you Cheng Xuanden's disciple?" The mysterious woman spoke again. Her voice was soft and seductive, enough to provoke all kinds of distracting thoughts. Guan hurriedly answered, "Yes, senior. Cheng Xuanden is my master. Who are you and why are you here? If I can remain in this place, then naturally I am your grandmaster. Cheng Xuanden is my disciple. The fact that you have entered means his final calamity has arrived, has it not?" The woman no longer laughed. A trace of emotion entered her voice. Guan replied, "So you are grandmaster. This grand disciple greets grandmaster." Master's lifespan was indeed nearing its end. He said he wished to imitate you by finding a place unknown to others and quietly welcome the end of his life. The cavern fell silent again. Guan remained on the highest alert. If the woman attacked him, he would not show mercy merely because she claimed to be his grandmaster. Tiansu had yet to taste blood. A long time passed. Just as Guan was about to speak again, the woman's voice returned. "Did Cheng Xuanden tell you who I am?" Guan answered softly. "Master told this grand disciple everything. You come from the heavenly Autumn Pavilion. He also instructed me to remain prepared to support the pavilion's people at any time. Look at you, timid and cautious, creeping into this place as though every step might kill you. I suppose you did not accept any of this willingly, did you? Did you only learn the truth after he handed you the position of Valley Master?" Her voice carried obvious amusement. Guan sighed. Everything she said was correct. This time he was not acting. He truly felt helpless. "Since you accepted him as your master, you are naturally my grand disciple. Guard this place for me for 10 years. 10 years from now, I will be able to leave the Taishuan sect and will no longer trouble you." Guan could not help asking, "May I ask Grandmaster's name?" "My surname is Jiang, and my given name is Qiong. There is no need to mention the title by which the cultivation world once knew me. Jiang Qiong?" It was a beautiful name. He wondered how many years she had lived. As Guan considered this, one of the coffins suddenly opened. Startled, he immediately raised his sword. 2 objects flew from the coffin and landed before him. Looking down, he saw a small black bell and a secret manual. "Consider these a first meeting gift for my grand disciple. The soul summoning bell can command every Gu art recorded in the myriad Gu profound art. Ring it, and every corpse Gu in this cavern will obey your orders. The manual is my cultivation method, the yin-yang art. It contains the method for refining the soul summoning bell. Even your master failed to learn it." Jiang Qiong's voice sounded slightly weary. Guan hurriedly bowed in thanks, then could not resist asking, "This grand disciple's aptitude is ordinary. Why does Grandmaster treat me so generously? Ordinary aptitude? Ha! Boy, I do not know what strange cultivation art you practice, but your true cultivation is definitely not limited to the 4th level of the Qi refining realm. You have already reached foundation establishment, have you not? To achieve foundation establishment at such a young age makes you a genius. You can suppress your pride and hide among servant disciples at the edge of the Outer Sect. I do not know what purpose you carry, but you clearly possess deep contradictions toward the Taishuan sect. Your aptitude satisfies me, and your manner of doing things suits my tastes even more. Cultivate properly. In the future, I will teach you spells and allow you to inherit my mantle. When the time comes, I will recommend you to become a personal disciple of the heavenly Autumn Pavilion." Jiang Qiong's seductive laughter returned. Guan's expression changed. Feeling as though she had seen through him, he could not help blushing. He took a deep breath and said, "Thank you, Grandmaster. If there is anything you require, you may instruct this grand disciple at any time." After speaking, he bent down, collected the soul summoning bell and the yin-yang art, then turned and left. Jiang Qiong did not speak again. Guan quickly returned to the main chamber of the 8 Sceneries Grotto Heaven. He sat beneath the Azure Vine Tree and began reading the yin-yang art. At the same time, he considered whether Jiang Qiong harbored malicious intentions. It was only 10 years. He was not particularly afraid. He was not merely a nascent soul cultivator. He also had the Taichung heaven-shocking sword. Jiang Qiong was clearly not a benevolent person. She was only cautious because she believed Guan possessed foundation establishment cultivation. In 10 short years, how could she progress from being wary of a foundation establishment cultivator to casually suppressing a nascent soul cultivator? She had not only recently hidden here. According to Cheng Xuanden, she had been dead for 70 years. During the coming decade, Guan would find ways to learn more spells and secret manuals from her. If she left peacefully 10 years later, he would not commit the crime of betraying his master and destroying his ancestor. If she revealed malicious intentions, Tiansu would finally be allowed to taste blood. Time flew. 5 years passed in the blink of an eye. Throughout those 5 years, Gu An maintained his plan of investing 1 year of lifespan every night. After more than 1,800 years of total investment, his cultivation reached the 8th level of the Nascent Soul Realm. Beyond the 5th level of Nascent Soul, every minor breakthrough required exponentially more cultivation time. During lifespan evolution, Gu An could only continue cultivating steadily, and each advancement took longer than the last. He now possessed 10,200 years of remaining lifespan. The addition of the 8 Sceneries Grotto Heaven had greatly increased his annual gains. During those 5 years, Mystic Valley accepted 3 new servant disciples. All 3 took Gu An as their master. There were 2 boys and 1 girl. From oldest to youngest, they were Tang Yu, Su Han, and Zhen Qin. Guan no longer selected people according to talent. To avoid unnecessary trouble, he chose disciples of ordinary aptitude. Each of the 3 possessed a maximum lifespan of roughly 200 years. Within that range, he selected those whose appearances and temperaments pleased him. One day, at the valley entrance, Xuanyu, Lan Wuxin, Tang Yu, Su Han, and Zhen Qin gathered around Lu Jiujia. "Senior brother, we wish you success. Martial uncle, do not forget us after you enter the Outer Sect. Do not worry, I will represent the Medicine Valley properly. If you fail, I may laugh at you." Today was the day Lu Jiujia would travel to the Outer Sect and take the examination. Gu An had cut an Azure Vine Fruit into 4 portions and distributed them among his 4 junior brothers and sister, helping their cultivation advance. Lu Jiujia had been the first to reach the 9th level of the Qi refining realm. It was worth noting that after consuming the Azure Vine Fruit, Wu Xin had become completely obedient. Every night, he remained in his room and cultivated peacefully. He no longer roamed the mountain forests, and he worked much more diligently. Lu Jiujia was now 23 years old and filled with confidence. He looked toward eldest senior brother's pavilion and saw Guan watching him from the window. Warmth filled his heart. "Wait for my good news. I will not disappoint, eldest senior brother." Lu Jiujia laughed proudly, then turned and departed. After years of cultivating the remnant wind kick, he believed he could establish himself in the Outer Sect. Dressed in black robes, Guan watched him leave from afar. A strange emotion rose within him. He could not decide whether it was joy or reluctance. Perhaps it was both. "I am only 27, yet I am already becoming sentimental. What will happen when I reach 200, 2,000, or even 20,000 years old?" Guan laughed at himself. He turned, sat at his table, picked up the latest volume of the Azure Hero's Travels, and continued reading. This volume had been published the previous year. In Guan's opinion, it was unquestionably a masterpiece. The author's ability to describe romance, beauty, and fleeting passion had reached a realm of transformation. A long while later, Wu Xin came to visit. At 21, he still dressed as a monk. Guan often teased him by calling him the Jade-Faced Tang Monk. The custom monk's robe Guan had specially ordered from the Outer Sect made his appearance even more striking. "Eldest senior brother, all the gardens on the mountain have been watered. Do you have any further instructions today?" Wu Xin asked softly as he approached. His gaze swept across the Azure Hero's Travels, and his fair, handsome face immediately reddened. Without looking up, Guan said, "Nothing else. Go cultivate." Wu Xin moved to the opposite side of the table but did not leave. His expression was hesitant. Guan glanced at him. "Is there something else?" Dressed in black, Guan now carried the faint pressure of a superior. The Medicine Valley's harvests had been excellent over the past several years. Since he no longer maintained a private treasury, he had spent his own spirit stones to purchase new clothing for everyone. None of them looked like servant disciples anymore. Wu Xin clenched his teeth. "Senior brother, I want to speak honestly. With my aptitude, I can never enter the Outer Sect. I truly wish to remain in the Medicine Valley beside you for my entire life." Guan set down the Azure Hero's Travels and examined him carefully. Was there not another meaning hidden in those words? This fellow wanted a promotion. Guan frowned and allowed a troubled expression to appear. Seeing this, Wu Xin immediately grew anxious and dropped to his knees. "Senior brother, where am I still lacking? I work harder than they do and obey you more closely. All of them want to enter the Outer Sect, while I alone wish to remain." Wu Xin spoke emotionally, his eyes even reddened. Guan, however, noticed that he was secretly circulating some cultivation art to stimulate his blood and qi. "This brat is copying me?" Guan said seriously. "Wu Xin, in my heart, no one is superior or inferior. Just as with the Azure Vine Fruit, I divided it equally among all of you. However, the position of eldest disciple is extremely important. It may even represent the next master of the valley. Although I am only a servant disciple, my treatment is no worse than that of an ordinary outer disciple. I must remember the sect's kindness. You appear to be hiding something from me. Of course, everyone has difficulties they cannot speak about, and I do not wish to pry. You will always be my junior brother. But as for the position of eldest disciple," he sighed and gave a helpless expression. Wu Xin froze. He had never expected eldest senior brother to know about the things he had done years ago. His first reaction was terror. The next was overwhelming emotion. The last time he had searched for intelligence at night had been 5 years ago. Senior brother had tolerated him for 5 entire years. What did that mean? Senior brother truly regarded him as family. Considering the matter from Guan's position, Wu Xin felt that if their roles were reversed, he would have punished such a suspicious junior brother long ago. The more he thought about it, the more ashamed he became. He could no longer continue acting. Senior brother, actually. Wu Xin clenched his teeth, appearing to make an enormous decision. The truth is that I come from the Heavenly Autumn Pavilion. My father is one of its 72 pavilion masters. My aptitude is poor, and my brothers and sisters bullied me every year, so I ran away. I searched around at night because I heard about senior brother Li Ya's experiences and wondered whether some opportunity might be hidden nearby. I hoped that one day I could prove myself to my father. But I have given up. Forget comparing myself with my brothers and sisters. I cannot even compare with Lu Jujia. Wu Xin confessed everything in a single breath. Toward the end, he lowered his head and no longer dared look at Guan. Guan revealed a shocked expression, as though unable to believe his ears. You? Hearing the tremor in eldest senior brother's voice, Wu Xin felt even more ashamed and pressed his forehead against the floor. Guan truly had not expected Wu Xin to come from the Heavenly Autumn Pavilion. What was happening? They might as well stop calling this place Mystic Valley and rename it Heavenly Autumn Valley. Guan quietly released his spiritual sense and formed an invisible barrier to prevent anyone from listening. He remained silent for a while before releasing a long sigh. Enough. Stand up, and we will speak properly. Wu Xin had been consumed by anxiety. Hearing those words, he secretly breathed a sigh of relief. He stood and saw the complicated expression on Guan's face, becoming even more moved. Senior brother truly treats me sincerely. I know very little about the Heavenly Autumn Pavilion. I have heard that it is a demonic sect. Is that true? Guan asked after taking a deep breath. Wu Xin nodded. It is demonic, and it is one of the most sinister demonic sects. Corpse arts, goo techniques, soul seizure, poisons, anything belonging to the demonic path can be found there. I could no longer endure it, which is why I fled. Will your father come looking for you? I must consider the safety of the other disciples, Guan asked worriedly. Wu Xin hurriedly waved his hands. Why would he search for me? He probably wishes I were dead. I am his greatest disgrace. Guan's expression softened. Then he shouted sternly, Wu Xin, I forbid you from belittling yourself like that. How can a person's worth be judged solely by cultivation? Wu Xin scratched his head and grinned. I understand. It is only that the Heavenly Autumn Pavilion follows the demonic path. Senior brother, people of the demonic path are not normal. Guan nodded, then seemed to remember something. By the way, while you were in the Heavenly Autumn Pavilion, did you ever hear the name Jiang Qiong? Jiang Qiong? Wu Xin froze and frowned in thought. Several moments later, realization dawned upon him. I remember. She was the Heavenly Autumn Pavilion's greatest genius 100 years ago and the daughter of the second pavilion master. But she died many years ago. When I was young, I once heard father mention her. He even wanted my eldest brother to marry Jiang Qiong. Guan could not resist asking, how old is your father? Nearly 500. He has more than 100 children, so he would not care even if I disappeared forever. Guan fell silent. The demonic path's lifestyle was still somewhat enviable. He asked several more questions, but unfortunately, Wu Xin knew little else about Jiang Qiong. Since you have honestly confessed your origins, I will cultivate you as the eldest disciple. If the position of eldest disciple in a valley can guide a lost demonic cultivator back to the proper path, then it may be considered an act of merit. However, this cannot be announced yet. Use your actions to win the recognition of everyone in the valley. Guan spoke with complete seriousness. Wu Xin was overwhelmed with joy. He was about to bow in thanks when Guan continued. From this day forward, you must never mention the Heavenly Autumn Pavilion again, not even in private. This is the Taishuan sect. Even words spoken to yourself may be overheard. Wu Xin nodded hurriedly and committed every instruction to heart. The two changed the subject and spoke about ordinary matters. Wu Xin felt that he had grown much closer to eldest senior brother. The feeling filled him with happiness. He should have confessed long ago. That night, inside the Eight Sceneries Grotto Heaven, Guan walked to an empty patch of ground beside the underground river and began planting medicinal herbs. He did not move quickly. Since he rarely spent his days cultivating, he thoroughly enjoyed the process of sowing seeds. What he planted was not merely grass and flowers. It was lifespan. A love of farming seemed to exist in the bones of every Chinese person, and that habit had followed his soul into the cultivation world. When he finished, Guan looked at the newly opened garden with satisfaction. Every row was perfectly neat, creating a unique kind of beauty. Good grand disciple, come inside for a moment. Jiang Qiong's pleasant voice came from one of the tunnels. Guan immediately walked over. During the past several years, Jiang Qiong had occasionally summoned him to harvest medicinal materials and even assist with pill refining. Guan's efforts had not been wasted. His alchemy had improved at astonishing speed. Jiang Qiong's skill in the pill Dao far surpassed Cheng Xuanden's. That much was obvious from the way she taught. Guan entered the inner chamber. It remained as gloomy as ever. A pill furnace half the height of a man stood on the ground, with a heap of gray charcoal piled beneath it. Guan was about to speak when he heard movement. He focused his gaze and saw a coffin deep within the chamber begin to shake. Boom! The coffin lid fell and slammed against the floor, sending dust into the air. A skeletal arm extended from within, resembling the claw of a ghost. Guan immediately spent 1 year of lifespan to inspect its owner. Jiang Qiong, 9th level of the Core Formation Realm, 185-4-2490. Good heavens, a maximum lifespan of nearly 2,500 years. Why did a 9th level Core Formation cultivator possess only a little more than 300 years of current lifespan? Was it related to her injuries? As Guan wondered, the final trace of apprehension within him vanished. Creak, a withered foot stepped from the coffin and crushed a piece of charcoal in half. A woman in torn clothing emerged. Her hair was tangled, and her body was terrifyingly thin, as though every drop of blood and flesh had been drained from her. The remnants of a white robe clung to her frame. Both sleeves and trouser legs were badly torn. She staggered forward like a malicious ghost. Jiang Qiong slowly raised her face. It was as withered as the rest of her body. Her eye sockets were deeply sunken, while her eyes protruded unnaturally, making her appearance horrifying. Her gaze fell on Guan. He hurriedly lowered his head as though frightened. Good grand disciple, thanks to the pills you have helped me refine over these 5 years, my recovery has been much faster. Jiang Qiong forced a smile. The expression only made her more frightening, and a rasping breath escaped her throat as she spoke. She no longer referred to herself as this seat. Instead, she used the ordinary word I, making their relationship sound considerably closer. Suppressing his discomfort, Guan said, "It is only what this grand disciple should do. However, there is something I do not understand. Ask." Jiang Qiong answered while trembling toward the pill furnace. Guan watched her and said, "If refining pills can help you recover so quickly, why did you never have my master refine them for you?" Cheng Xuanden had believed Jiang Qiong dead for 70 years. In other words, she had hidden here for 70 years without him ever discovering that she remained alive. Jiang Qiong gave a smile that was not quite a smile. "Because I did not trust him. Your master only became my disciple under coercion. His thoughts constantly wavered, and he might have betrayed me at any moment. Half the coffins in this cavern contained disciples he recruited." Guan fell silent. He believed she was telling the truth. Meng Lang was proof enough. Jiang Qiong sat before the pill furnace and waved a hand. The medicinal herbs piled beside it rose into the air and flew into the furnace one after another. 5 years have passed. What level of foundation establishment have you reached? Jiang Qiong asked. Guan's visible cultivation stood at the 5th level of qi refining, but Jiang Qiong remained certain that he had reached foundation establishment. "Almost the 3rd level," Guan replied. "Too slow. Do not neglect cultivation. In my youth, your grandmaster reached foundation establishment at 18 and core formation at 40. If I had not spent several decades studying alchemy and formations, I would already have reached the Nascent Soul Realm. Have you ever heard of the Nascent Soul Realm?" Jiang Qiong spoke indifferently while staring at the furnace. Guan hurriedly nodded. Nascent Soul cultivators are practically immortals. They are rarely seen in the Outer Sect. Immortals? Nonsense. They are merely somewhat stronger cultivators. When I recover completely, I will find a place to break through to the Nascent Soul Realm. At that time, you will have a Nascent Soul cultivator as your backing. How does that sound? Are you excited? Toward the end, pride entered Jiang Qiong's voice. Her sweet tone stood in stark contrast with her horrifying appearance. "Thank you for your protection, Grandmaster. Is there anything this grand disciple can do to assist you?" Guan asked, stepping forward. "Sit beside me and watch how I refine pills. We can speak while we wait." She patted the ground, indicating that he should sit next to her. Guan sat down but deliberately maintained some distance. At the same time, he remained vigilant. No matter how well Jiang Qiong treated him, he could not relax until she had truly left. Meng Lang was a warning. Before his death, he had probably never suspected Cheng Xuanden either. Jiang Qiong asked about Guan's background and origins. He did not conceal much, giving a general account of the first half of his life. Naturally, he did not mention the Ji clan. He only said that he had been born a servant and joined the Taishuan sect after being discovered to possess spiritual roots. They spoke for a full half an hour before Jiang Qiong allowed him to leave. She also instructed him to return for each of the next 3 nights, promising a generous reward once her task succeeded. Guan arrived as instructed. On the third night, he sat cross-legged opposite the pill furnace with the yin-yang art in his hands, occasionally asking Jiang Qiong questions. His endless questions eventually irritated her. "Boy, are you deliberately deceiving me? You reached Foundation establishment at such a young age, so how can your comprehension be this poor?" Guan answered with an aggrieved expression. "Alchemy is alchemy. Absorbing qi is absorbing qi. They are different things." Jiang Qiong suddenly had no reply. Then her attention was drawn to the pill furnace. The heat it released grew increasingly intense. The vent on the lid gradually turned dark green, creating an extremely sinister sight. Guan shuddered. What kind of pill was she refining? Why did it feel like some kind of poison pill? Excitement appeared in Jiang Qiong's eyes. She stopped speaking and stared intently at the furnace. Time passed, minute by minute. Guan remained on guard, prepared in case Jiang Qiong suddenly attacked. He did not know how long had passed when a muffled sound finally came from inside the furnace. A smile appeared on Jiang Qiong's face, though it looked uglier than crying. She raised her right hand and extended 2 fingers. The furnace lid flew open. She made a grabbing motion, and a pill shot from the furnace into her palm. The instant it landed there, she threw it directly into her mouth, so fast. It was as though she feared Guan might steal it. After swallowing the pill, Jiang Qiong immediately sat cross-legged and circulated her cultivation art. Within 3 breaths, strands of white vapor began rising from her entire body. Guan stood and slowly stepped backward, increasing the distance between them. More and more white vapor appeared, winding around Jiang Qiong until her figure became indistinct. She resembled a corpse standing inside a bank of pale mist. Guan repeatedly inspected her lifespan, guarding against the possibility that she might suddenly break through to the Nascent Soul Realm. The numbers representing Jiang Qiong's lifespan began increasing before his eyes. It was the first time he had ever watched another person's lifespan rise in visible increments, and the sight was somewhat shocking. He suddenly became extremely interested in the pill she had taken. What kind of miraculous medicine was it? Her lifespan was not the only thing increasing. Her aura surged rapidly and soon exceeded that of the Foundation Establishment realm, a genuine core formation cultivator. Guan quickly noticed that Jiang Qiong's body was recovering. Her withered frame gradually filled out, like an empty skin being inflated. It truly worked. He waited patiently. Jiang Qiong's breathing gradually filled the chamber. It grew heavier and heavier until it resembled the growling of a wild beast. A long time later, her ragged breathing finally slowed. Guan confirmed that she had not broken through to the Nascent Soul Realm, and his tension eased. Within the white mist, Jiang Qiong stretched languidly, extending a graceful figure entirely unlike the skeletal body she had possessed before. She stepped from the vapor. Her hair remained disheveled and her clothing tattered, but patches of smooth, pale skin were now visible beneath the ruined fabric. In the dark cavern, the sight caused heat to rise briefly to Guan's face. He hurriedly looked elsewhere. "It has been far too long since I could move like this." Jiang Qiong spoke with nostalgia. She walked directly to Guan, leaned forward slightly, and used both hands to sweep the hair away from her face. "What do you think, good grand disciple? Is your grandmaster pleasing to look at?" Guan hurriedly glanced at her. Although dirt still covered her face, her refined features revealed a rare beauty. Among the women he had met, only Xuanyu, the Ji clan's 3rd young lady, and Xuanyu of the Outer Sect could compare with her appearance. Grandmaster is naturally one of the greatest beauties beneath heaven. But this grand disciple is more concerned about your condition. Have your injuries completely healed? Guan cupped his hands, speaking with perfect sincerity. "If you have recovered, then hurry up and leave. Complete recovery is still far away. I need another 5 years of rest." Jiang Qiong smiled. Her bright eyes examined Guan, though he could not tell what she was thinking. Whoosh! She suddenly struck toward him with one palm. The movement was as fast as lightning, stopping directly before his chest. The force of the wind sent his robe snapping backward. Jiang Qiong asked with a teasing smile, "Why did you not dodge?" Guan's expression stiffened. This grand disciple could not react in time. That was not the truth. In his eyes, Jiang Qiong's movement had been painfully slow. In the same instant, the dragon force within his body could have rebounded her spiritual power. She had not stopped to spare Guan's life. She had stopped to save her own. Jiang Qiong found his answer amusing. Her smile grew radiant, and eventually she doubled over, clutching her stomach as she laughed. Guan watched without interrupting. After laughing for quite some time, she turned and walked back toward the pill furnace. "Do not worry. I would never kill my own disciples or descendants. When Cheng Xuandan tried to betray me, I still spared his life. I even used his protection to hide within the Taishuan sect. As long as you respect me, I will never mistreat you. If anyone dares bully you, I will not stand aside and watch." Hearing this, Guan could not help laughing aloud as well. Jiang Qiong stopped before the furnace and turned toward him. Leave me a new set of clothing, then you may return. Come again tomorrow night. I will teach you spells. Guan immediately took a set of his own white robes from his storage pouch and gently placed them on the ground. He cupped his hands, bowed to Jiang Qiong, and took his leave. Only after his figure vanished into the darkness did Jiang Qiong turn around. She approached the white robes, lifted them through the air with a gesture, and inhaled their scent. A soft laugh escaped her lips. Early the next morning, Guan was leading everyone in the Medicine Valley through their exercises when a figure appeared at the valley entrance. It was Li Ya. He was still dressed entirely in black. Compared with 5 years earlier, his presence had become far sharper, rising like a sword toward the heavens. The aura of a powerful cultivator surrounded him. His arrival immediately drew everyone's attention.
Senior brother Li Ya!
Xiaochuan shouted joyfully. Guan walked toward Li Ya while instructing the others to continue practicing. He had only just reached him when Li Ya spoke first. Let us talk upstairs. Huh? What had happened? Guan immediately became tense. What matter could be important enough for Li Ya to personally make this journey? He led Li Ya toward the pavilion, brought him upstairs, entered the room, and closed the door. Li Ya walked to the table and waved a hand. An Azure Vine Fruit appeared on the tabletop, causing Guan to freeze. 4 years ago, an Azure Vine Fruit appeared in the Outer Sect's pill hall. I bought it, but my missions have kept me so busy that I never had a chance to bring it to you, Li Ya said with a smile. Guan's expression became strange. What is wrong? Li Ya asked. Guan realized he could not hide the truth. He coughed lightly. I was the one who sold this fruit to the pill hall. To avoid suspicion, he had sold it at an extremely low price. The act had even earned praise from the pill hall elder, who believed Guan was deeply grateful to the sect. Guan had dared sell it because Li Ya once told him Azure Vine Fruits were not truly rare within the Taishuan sect. The Outer Sect might not possess any, but the Inner Sect had quite a few. Or more precisely, the Inner Sect possessed countless rare treasures from across the world. He never imagined Li Ya would buy the exact fruit and bring it back. Li Ya said helplessly. Its appearance caused an enormous stir. This fruit can strengthen blood and qi. It is an exceptionally precious natural treasure. Why would you sell it? How many spirit stones did you receive? 20 middle-grade spirit stones. What? I paid 10 high-grade spirit stones for it. Li Ya's eyes widened. 1 high-grade spirit stone was equivalent to 100 middle-grade spirit stones. Both men fell silent. In truth, Guan did not believe he had suffered a loss. Thanks to the Azure Vine Fruit, he had established a friendly relationship with Zhu Qinglu of the Pill Hall. Over the following 4 years, Zhu Qinglu had looked after him in many ways and granted him considerable convenience. Still, facing Li Ya now was somewhat embarrassing. Li Ya said dejectedly, "Forget it. Consider it a contribution to the sect. Apart from this fruit, I came to speak with you about another matter." "What is it?" Guan asked. Inwardly, he prayed it was not trouble. He had no desire to be dragged into the whirlpool of Outer Sect conflict. Li Ya smiled. "Do you not enjoy growing things? I remember you once said that you helped an outer disciple tend his cave residence. An opportunity has appeared. The compensation is quite good. For 1 year of management, you will receive 1 middle-grade spirit stone and 1 bottle of spirit qi pills." So that was all. Guan secretly breathed a sigh of relief. He would naturally never refuse work that could earn him additional lifespan. He rarely spent his days cultivating, so he had plenty of free time. He began asking about the employer. Li Ya did not conceal anything. The outer disciple was one of his good friends, and the cave residence stood near the Outer Sect city. Once Guan agreed, Li Ya immediately took him there. Li Ya flew on his sword, with Guan standing behind him on the same blade. Watching the two depart filled Xiaoxuan, Yelan, and the others with envy. Who did not dream of flying on a sword? The tall and powerfully built Tongyu sighed. How wonderful would it be if Master learned sword flight from martial Uncle Li Ya and taught it to us? Beside him, the slender and handsome Suhan nodded. Although he had spent 4 years in the Medicine Valley, his heart still yearned for the Outer Sect. Tongyu and Zhenqin felt the same. Yilan said nothing. She simply pulled Zhenqin back toward the courtyard to cultivate. Meanwhile, Li Ya's flying sword moved rapidly over the mountain ranges. He faced forward, his black robes fluttering and his hair streaming behind him, giving him a free and heroic appearance. "I noticed that your Medicine Valley now has more servant disciples than before," Li Ya said sincerely. "Junior brother Gu, you should try to recruit fewer people and keep more spirit stones for your own cultivation." Although Guan constantly claimed that his aptitude was poor, Li Ya still believed some hope remained. He did not want to remain young and elegant 100 years from now, while Guan had already entered the twilight of his life. Li Ya had spent many years in the Taishuan sect. He had several close friends and many more friendships built upon mutual benefit. Yet in his heart, none could compare with junior brother Gu. Guan was the only person who had treated him well without expecting repayment. Li Ya did not want to lose such a bond. Guan smiled. Senior Brother Li, do not worry. I recruited more disciples because the medicinal gardens in Mystic Valley have expanded. I submit more herbs every year, and the pill hall has gradually improved my treatment. I will not neglect my cultivation. A smile appeared on Li Ya's face. That is true, you have always been diligent. Sooner or later, you will accomplish something. How could my achievements compare with Senior Brothers? Your reputation in the Outer Sect is enormous. The two began praising one another. Li Ya normally despised such empty pleasantries, yet for some inexplicable reason, hearing them from junior brother Gu made him extraordinarily happy. 2 hours later, Li Ya brought Guan back to Mystic Valley and then departed on his sword. The moment Guan landed, 2 disciples surrounded him. They were Su Han and Zhen Qin. They wanted to know where he had gone. Guan did not hide it. He explained briefly, then dismissed them. Lu Jujia's departure had greatly stimulated the Medicine Valley's disciples. The valley had become noticeably quieter. Without the same bustle as before, most disciples remained in their rooms cultivating, hoping to catch up with Lu Jujia as soon as possible. Guan returned to his room, picked up the yin-yang art, and began reading. That night, Jiang Qiong would begin teaching him spells. He was looking forward to it. What cultivator would not want to master more spells? Besides, Guan still lacked many basic techniques. Late at night, inside the Eight Sceneries Grotto Heaven, Jiang Qiong stood beneath the Azure Vine Tree in white robes, her long black hair falling freely around her. She looked like an immortal maiden descended from the heavens. At that moment, however, her beautiful face was filled with anger. How can you be this foolish? I have explained the method of circulating qi several times. Why can you still not remember it? Jiang Qiong forced down her temper as she scolded him. She stood beside Guan, staring intently at the wisp of black smoke hovering above his palm. She was teaching him the soul-seizing art, an extremely sinister spell capable of tearing away another person's soul. Guan said helplessly, "Grandmaster, how long have you even been teaching me? Could you not be a little more patient?" "It is not that. It is only—" Jiang Qiong suddenly did not know how to continue. Before recovering her body, she had looked forward to teaching Guan. In her eyes, he was a genius. The result, however, differed completely from what she had imagined. This boy was far too strange. When she taught him sword flight, a single explanation was enough. When she taught him anything else, he behaved like someone who had only just stepped onto the path of cultivation. In the Sword Dao, Guan was unquestionably the greatest genius she had ever encountered. The problem was that she herself was not skilled in the Sword Dao. "If I could learn everything easily, why would I have ended up as a servant disciple?" Guan said with a sigh. Jiang Qiong endured for a long moment before finally blurting out, "Even so, you should not be this stupid." Guan's hand trembled. As expected of someone from the demonic path, her words were truly capable of injuring people. His temper rose. "I have my own strengths. When it comes to sword talent, Grandmaster might not be able to compare with me." Jiang Qiong immediately became amused. "Then shall we test it? Neither of us will use spiritual power. We will compare sword techniques alone. Fine." Guan lowered both hands. The black smoke dispersed. He stood, preparing to teach Jiang Qiong a lesson. She moved 2 steps to the side, raised her right hand, and pressed her index and middle fingers together. "Since this is only a friendly exchange, there is no need to damage our relationship. We will use our fingers as swords." Guan nodded. He placed his left hand behind his back and extended his right hand forward. Jiang Qiong narrowed her eyes. For some inexplicable reason, the instant Guan assumed that posture, she felt a faint sense of alarm. "What is wrong with me? How can a foundation establishment boy frighten me?" She silently cursed herself for becoming timid and losing the fearless arrogance she had possessed in the past. She immediately thrust her fingers toward Guan. The moment she moved, she used the speed of a core formation cultivator. Guan's 2 fingers struck hers directly, as though brushing aside a sword. Her arm was knocked outward. Jiang Qiong's gaze sharpened. Her feet shifted lightly, and her body glided past Guan like a ghost. Her sword fingers stabbed toward his ribs. Guan turned. His 2 fingers pointed downward and thrust forward, striking the back of her hand. A sharp pain made her withdraw instinctively. The 2 moved continuously beneath the tree, meeting and countering each other's techniques. Jiang Qiong's attacks were fierce and severe. Guan moved with effortless calm, like flowing water beneath drifting clouds. After 30 exchanges, Guan clearly sensed that Jiang Qiong was growing impatient. He deliberately exposed an opening and allowed her fingers to strike his abdomen. Then he clutched his stomach and fell. Jiang Qiong did not press her advantage. She straightened and stared at him with shining eyes. Guan pretended to be in pain, but her gaze genuinely made him uneasy. What kind of look is that? It was as though she wanted to swallow him alive. Jiang Qiong took a deep breath. "Good. Very good. I still underestimated your comprehension of the Sword Dao. Your movements possessed no obvious structure, yet every strike was simple and direct, aimed precisely at your opponent's weakness. You are a sword prodigy rarely seen in 100 years. If a great teacher guides you, you will certainly become renowned throughout the world as a sword cultivator. Guan shook his head. Forget becoming renowned throughout the world. That would only cause countless people to seek me out and create trouble. I dislike fighting more than anything, much less killing. Jiang Qiong froze, finding him extremely interesting. It was the first time she had encountered such a hopelessly unambitious genius. Your grandmaster was too impatient and should not have scolded you. Come here. Continue practicing the soul-seizing art. Although the sword Dao suits you, there are certain spells you must master if you wish to protect yourself from disaster. Jiang Qiong beckoned. Guan immediately approached and resumed cultivating the soul-seizing art. After their exchange, Jiang Qiong's attitude improved considerably. She explained everything in a soft, warm voice that occasionally gave Guan gooseflesh. From that day onward, Guan entered the Eight Sceneries Grotto Heaven every night to learn spells from Jiang Qiong. As soon as a spell appeared on his attribute panel, he moved on to the next one. Jiang Qiong assumed he had encountered a bottleneck and did not force him to continue. She possessed many spells in any case. Teaching a junior while recovering from her injuries was also a pleasant way for her to pass the time. In addition, Guan visited the Outer Disciples' cave residence once every month to tend the medicinal plants inside. At the end of the year, winter snow drifted through the air and covered the sky. Wearing a broad rain hat, Guan traveled halfway up a mountainside and arrived before a cave residence. He was about to take out the access token when he suddenly sensed something. Someone was inside, more than one person. Guan immediately considered leaving, but the conversation inside the cave paused for a moment. If he turned around now, it would prove that he could see through the restrictions and detect what was happening within. He had no choice but to place the token against the stone gate. The entrance opened. Guan stepped inside, passed through the corridor, and entered the main chamber. The moment he saw three people sitting inside, he froze. Then he hurriedly bowed. My apologies. I did not know the seniors had returned. I will leave and avoid disturbing you. After speaking, he turned to go. The cave residence's owner was named Chen Li. He appeared to be around 40 and carried the refined air of a scholarly gentleman. He extended a hand and smiled. There is no need. Attend to your work. We will continue our conversation. Hearing this, Guan could only turn back, bow again, and walk toward the medicinal garden some distance away. He paid attention to the other two guests, one man and one woman. The woman was Xuanyu, who had once fought him. The man was not Xiang. He was someone else entirely, possessing an elegant bearing and extraordinarily handsome features. He looked like a noble young lord stepped directly from a painting. Even another man would be astonished by his appearance. Xuanyu looked at Guan. She clearly recognized him but said nothing. Guan quietly inspected the handsome man's lifespan. Xianxia, first level of the core formation realm, 58, 601, 508. First level of core formation, an inner disciple? Seeing Guan begin harvesting herbs, Chen Li turned back toward Xuanyu and Xianxia. The World Outer Sect tournament is about to begin, and the Taishuan sect is hosting it this time. The pressure upon us is considerable. Xianxia smiled. What is there to fear? The Outer Sect has no shortage of geniuses. Even if all those sects combine their strength, suppressing the Taishuan sect will be difficult. Within the Taichang dynasty, the Taishuan sect stands above all others. Chen Li shook his head. I heard that the outer sects of the Guhao sect, the Tianjui sect, and the Heavenly Autumn Pavilion all possess dual spiritual root geniuses. They deliberately suppressed their cultivation realms while waiting for this tournament. He paused, looked at Xianxia and complained. Junior brother Xiao, why did you not delay your breakthrough? Your masters must have known about this. Xianxia laughed. Senior brother Chen, the World Outer Sect tournament is held at least twice every century. How can cultivators like us care so much about a single victory or defeat? Besides, geniuses emerge from the Taishuan sect every year. Do not worry. The burden will not rest solely on your shoulders. The three continued discussing the tournament. Xianxia and Chen Li did most of the talking, while Xuanyu occasionally added a few words. The World Outer Sect tournament? The greatest Outer Sect talents from all the major factions would gather at the Taishuan sect? Would disciples of the Heavenly Autumn Pavilion be among them? Guan listened with great interest. Such a grand gathering would undoubtedly be spectacular. Still, he felt a little worried. Would someone from the Heavenly Autumn Pavilion use the opportunity to find him and force him to provide information about the Taishuan sect? Chen Li and the others gradually changed topics, turning their discussion toward the inner sect. Chen Li was extremely interested in it and wanted to know what life there was like. Xianxia briefly described the prosperous inner cities, the profound lineages inherited by the various peaks, and the countless generous bounty missions. Guan listened as though reading a novel. Even so, he remained uninterested in entering. Inner disciples still had to defend the Taikang dynasty. They constantly traveled through the realm to kill demons and suppress monsters. They also helped the dynasty resist invasions from neighboring imperial powers. Merely hearing about it gave Guan a headache. After finishing his work and gaining several hundred years of lifespan, Guan approached Chen Li to take his leave. "You work very carefully. Would you also tend my cave residence?" Li Xuanyu suddenly asked. Chen Li smiled. "He truly does excellent work and follows every rule. Liya recommended him, so he is trustworthy." Li Xuanyu stared at Guan, waiting for his answer. Under everyone's gaze, refusing would be awkward. He could only nod and agree. "You two may continue talking. I will bring him with me and show him the route," Li Xuanyu said before standing and leaving. Guan hurriedly bowed to Chen Li and Xiao Chenjun, then followed her. Only after the stone gate closed did Xiao Chenjun smile and ask, "The Li clan's grievances are truly complicated. Tell me, does junior sister Li actually hold any enmity toward Li Ya?" Chen Li shook his head. How could she? If she hated him, she would not have spoken on his behalf in the past. Li Ya should have died at Xiang's hands long ago. Xiang has now been missing for several years, and I suspect Li Ya killed him. Xiao Chenjin lifted his teacup. His gaze became difficult to read. After leaving Chen Li's cave residence, Guan followed Li Xuanyu. The two shared a single flying sword, though they maintained a proper distance between them. Standing behind her, Guan caught a faint, distinctive fragrance. It was considerably more pleasant than Jiang Qiong's scent. Even after bathing thoroughly, the aura of death clinging to Jiang Qiong had never completely disappeared. Neither of them spoke during the journey. Li Xuanyu's presence was so cold and distant that Guan did not dare begin a conversation. Her cave residence was not far from Chen Li's. Before long, they descended. Guan immediately sensed that the restrictions protecting her residence were far stronger. Once he stepped inside, that impression became even more pronounced. The spiritual energy was incredibly dense. Li Xuanyu carefully explained the origins of every medicinal plant in the cave and the proper method for nurturing each one. Guan listened attentively. After enough time for an incense stick to burn, she handed him an access token. With it, he could open the cave residence directly. She offered him the same compensation as Chen Li. For Guan, harvesting medicinal plants and gaining lifespan was already sufficient. If spirit stones were added on top of that, he would certainly not refuse. He cupped his hands in farewell and prepared to leave. "Wait, what is your relationship with Li Ya?" Li Xuanyu suddenly asked. Guan stopped and turned around. "Li Ya is my senior brother. Naturally, our relationship is good." He could tell that Li Xuanyu and Li Ya probably did not have a hostile relationship. If they were enemies, she would hardly use an insignificant servant disciple like him to scheme against Li Ya. Li Xuanyu said nothing more and only gave a small nod. Guan bid farewell again. Managing outer disciples' cave residences was not particularly demanding. He generally needed to visit only once every 2 weeks or once a month. Guan felt he could accept even more work. His operation was growing increasingly prosperous. Mystic Valley and the Eight Sceneries Grotto Heaven formed the trunk, and now new branches were sprouting in every direction. His supply of lifespan would only become richer. He had to reach 100,000 years as soon as possible. The winter snow melted, and a new spring arrived. Before sunset, Mystic Valley began hanging lanterns and decorating every corner. In front of the pavilion, the youngest disciple, Jiang Qiong, squatted on the ground and cut paper decorations. "Master, what does the spring festival mean?" she asked softly. She was 9 years younger than Guan, with a sweet face, large round eyes, a petite figure, and a gentle temperament. Even Lu Jujia and Xiao Xuan doted on her. "When I was young, I once heard an old man say that the spring festival represents the beginning of a new year, the passing of the old and the arrival of the new. Every year at this time, people offer blessings to one another. Our Medicine Valley has no festivals worth celebrating, so I decided that we should establish the spring festival." Guan sat nearby, weaving a lantern as he spoke. Not far away, Wu Xin, Xiaoshuan, and Tang Yu were hanging lanterns and pasting red paper decorations. Yilan was preparing food, while Suhan inspected the medicinal gardens one by one. Expectation appeared on Jin Qin's face. The idea for the spring festival had occurred to Guan several days earlier. He had heard everyone discussing their hometowns and could not help remembering his home on Earth during the Lunar New Year of his previous life. Thus, he decided to establish the spring festival as Mystic Valley's first holiday. In the future, he could create several more festivals to keep life in the Medicine Valley from becoming too monotonous. He only wondered whether other people from Earth had also crossed into this world. Guan silently considered the possibility. He claimed to have heard about the spring festival from an old man purely as a precaution. At that moment, his brows furrowed. He sensed two unpleasant auras approaching Mystic Valley. They were already within 10 li. Both possessed Foundation Establishment cultivation, but their auras reeked strongly of blood. They had killed a great many people. The World Outer Sect tournament was about to begin. Could these be demonic cultivators arriving to attend? Guan silently prayed that they would not enter his medicine valley. Unfortunately, what he feared came to pass. The two flew directly toward Mystic Valley. Before long, their figures appeared above a mountain peak, overlooking the valley. They were a man and a woman, both wearing dark purple robes. Their presences were sinister and bewitching. Even beneath daylight, they resembled malicious ghosts. The woman had a voluptuous figure, heavy makeup, and fingernails as long and sharp as claws. Covering her mouth, she laughed seductively. Ruye, we are already close to the Taishuan sect's outer territory. Why not rest here for a few days? We can also question these servant disciples and gather some information. The man beside her possessed a powerful build and a cold face. A purple crown rested upon his head. A crimson gemstone had been embedded in its center, resembling a vertical, blood-red eye. What information could we possibly obtain from a group of qi-refining insects? The purple-robed man asked coldly. His name was Shu Ruye, a disciple of the Myriad Yin sect. He had come to attend the World Outer Sect tournament with his Dao companion, Qiong. Qiong smiled. You know what the people of the Taishuan sect are like. They lack ability, yet they love overwhelming others with numbers. We arrived early. If we enter now, trouble will certainly find us. Waiting here for a while would be better. Shu Ruye considered her words and found them reasonable. He descended through the air. The gourd at his waist flew out and rapidly enlarged beneath his feet. Qiong leaped after him and landed behind him. The two rode the gourd toward Mystic Valley. Guan raised his eyes and immediately used lifespan inspection. Shu Ruye, 9th level of the Foundation Establishment Realm, 67,389,920. Qiong, 7th level of the Foundation Establishment Realm, 74,376,05. Both appeared to be geniuses. Guan stood. Jianxin followed his gaze. The moment she saw Shu Ruye and Qiong, fear filled her face and she hurriedly hid behind her master. Xiaoshuan, Wuxin, and Tangyu also noticed the approaching demonic cultivators. They immediately abandoned their work and ran toward Guan. Shu Ruye and Qiong landed inside one of the gardens. Their gazes swept across the medicinal plants, making Guan tense. The Taishuan sect's security was terrible. A major gathering was approaching, yet they had not sent disciples to patrol the surrounding territory? Guan cursed inwardly. Of course, he understood the reason. Mystic Valley was of limited value to the Taishuan sect. It grew only low-grade medicinal herbs used to supply the Outer Sect. Qiong turned toward Guan and the others. Who is the Valley Master? Guan stepped forward and cupped his hands. I am. May I ask why the two seniors have come? Qiong gave him a seductive glance and smiled. Little brother, my husband and I have come to attend the Taishuan sect's tournament. We wish to rest in your valley for several days. What do you think? Shu Ruye's gaze shifted toward Ye Lan and Jianxin behind Guan. The coldness in his eyes made both young women uneasy. Ye Lan frowned and stepped in front of Jianxin. Displeasure rose in Guan's heart. However, he sensed a familiar aura approaching. He asked, May I ask which sect the two seniors represent? Qiong's expression turned cold. She was about to answer when Shu Ruye impatiently interrupted. Why waste words with him? If we wish to stay, can a 5th-level qi-refining cultivator drive us away? Terrifying killing intent erupted from his body. Everyone present trembled, as though plunged into an icy abyss. Do the two guests from the Myriad Yin sect intend to make an enemy of the Taishuan sect? A cold, clear voice descended from the sky. Everyone looked up. Li Xuanyu stood upon a flying sword, facing the wind like an exiled immortal. Li Xuanyu. Qiong spoke the name through clenched teeth. Li Xuanyu said only, Follow me. She turned and flew away, quickly disappearing beyond the mountain ridge. Shu Ruye immediately rose into the air. The gourd beneath his feet enlarged, and Qiong leaped onto it behind him. They followed Li Xuanyu away. Everyone in the Medicine Valley breathed a sigh of relief. Were those two demonic cultivators? Su Han asked. Shu Ruye's killing intent had left his face deathly pale. Wu Xin nodded. The Myriad Yin sect is a major demonic faction with enormous strength. Xiaoshuan said irritably. Is the Taishuan sect not a righteous orthodox sect? Why would it invite demonic sects here? The disciples began discussing the matter noisily. Every one of them remained frightened. Had Li Xuanyu not appeared, a disaster might have descended upon the valley that very night. Guan looked toward the horizon and frowned slightly. He instructed everyone to continue preparing for the spring festival, then returned to his room to rest. Sunset arrived, turning the sky crimson. Guan stood beside the pavilion window. He could already sense faint signs of battle in the distance, roughly 30 li from Mystic Valley. Suddenly, he detected something else. He stepped through the window and rapidly vanished into the mountain forest. Far away, trees lay broken across the ground and terrifying cracks covered the earth. Shu Ruye and Qiong stood side by side, contemptuous smiles upon their faces. Opposite them stood Li Xuanyu and another person. It was Li Ya. The Li clan's peerless 9 swords is indeed powerful, but your cultivation is not worth mentioning, Shu Ruye said with a cold laugh. The fingers of his right hand twitched lightly, and strands of purple qi coiled around them. Blood ran from the corner of Li Ya's mouth. His sword hand trembled. Li Xuanyu was in a similar state, though her injuries were less severe. Qianji ignored Li Ya and fixed her gaze upon Li Xuanyu. She smiled seductively. Li Xuanyu, are you not a favored daughter of heaven? How did you end up in such a miserable state? It seems the Li siblings are no match for us. Xu Ruye began walking toward Li Ya. Li Xuanyu suddenly threw her sword. As it flew, the blade split into 4 sword shadows that rushed toward Xu Ruye simultaneously. Xu Ruye reacted extremely quickly. He swept his right hand outward, and the purple qi around it erupted like violent flames, forcibly blocking her sword. Qianji appeared behind Li Xuanyu like a ghost. A crimson fan appeared in her hand. She swung it forcefully, releasing a rolling tide of red poisonous mist. Li Xuanyu was forced to leap aside. The mist rapidly spread throughout the forest. Within it, the vague shape of an enormous python twisted and surged. Wherever it passed, the red fog boiled violently. In only a short time, it surrounded both Li Ya and Li Xuanyu. Li Xuanyu landed beside Li Ya and swept her gaze around. Qianji had disappeared. Xu Ruye hovered above the forest, looking down upon them. This is Taishuan sect territory. Do you truly dare kill people here? Li Ya asked in a deep voice. Xu Ruye curled his lips into a mocking smile. I have long heard that the Taishuan sect is unimaginably vast. Since the current sect master took power, the sect's control over its borders has continually weakened. It seems he wants disciples to resolve their own conflicts in the frontier regions. The 8 great outer cities form a wall. Inside that wall stands a righteous, orthodox sect. Outside it, the strong devour the weak. There is no difference from the demonic path. We have fought for this long, yet no one has come. It appears the Taishuan sect stations no guardians outside the outer cities. If I kill you today, take your sister away and simply abandon the tournament. What can anyone do? And the people in that Medicine Valley should die as well. Princess Li personally protected them. They must share a deep connection with you. As though imagining something pleasant, Xu Ruye licked his lips. Buy me time, Li Xuanyu said softly. She sat cross-legged and rapidly formed seals. A golden flame appeared between her brows, flickering in and out of existence. Li Ya's gaze sharpened. He lowered his body, then surged upward. His sword rose with him. Sword qi erupted from the ground and soared toward the sky. The violent force caused the surrounding forest to shake across dozens of zhang, carrying the red fog upward in rolling waves. Under the light of sunset, the sight was magnificent. Xu Ruye sneered. He quickly withdrew a large purple banner from his storage pouch. A hideous evil ghost had been embroidered across it. Appearing ready to leap free from the cloth at any moment, Xu Ruye slapped downward with his left hand. Spiritual power erupted throughout his body and formed an enormous palm shadow that crushed downward, forcibly suppressing Li Ya's sword qi. Li Ya frowned. His spiritual power was far weaker than Xu Ruye's. He could not resist. As he focused upon the attack, the purple banner suddenly released a violent violet whirlwind. Li Ya's soul and senses spun into chaos. Not good. His expression changed drastically as intense dizziness overwhelmed him. What terrified him most was that his body could no longer descend. He is trying to seize your soul. How audacious. The ancestor's voice sounded inside Li Ya's mind, filled with alarm. Li Ya became even more panicked. Let me taste the soul of someone carrying the Taichung imperial bloodline. Xu Ruye laughed savagely, greed filling his eyes. Whoosh, a sharp tearing sound came from the distance. Li Ya, suspended helplessly in the air, instinctively looked toward it. Even Li Xuanyu, sitting in meditation, raised her head. A leaf wrapped in razor-sharp sword qi streaked across the sky. It moved like lightning, flying directly toward Xu Ruye. He glanced at it instinctively, but the leaf was far too fast. He had no time to react. Pop! His head exploded. Blood sprayed through the air. A violent wind swept away the red poison mist covering the forest. Li Ya was thrown to the ground. Li Xuanyu circulated her spiritual power to resist the wind, yet was still pushed backward and forced to rise quickly. Ruye? Qianji screamed in horror from within the gale. She was about to rush forward when another tearing sound rang out. She turned. The terrifying wind carried the red poison mist around her body. Her robes streamed backward, outlining her graceful figure. A single leaf was reflected in both her eyes. Boom! The leaf pierced through her head. Blood scattered across the forest. It continued flying, cutting through tree after tree and raising enormous clouds of dust before finally embedding itself in a branch of a massive tree. Thud! Thud! Xu Ruye's corpse struck the ground. Qianji's body fell soon afterward. Then only the sound of wind remained in the forest. Li Ya struggled upright. He sat upon the ground, his black hair whipping around him, completely stunned. Not far away, Li Xuanyu stared at the corpses in shock. For a moment, she appeared lost. Killing enemies with flying leaves, such tyrannical sword qi. That person possesses at least nascent soul cultivation, and his attainments in the sword Dao are extraordinarily high. The ancestor's voice echoed inside Li Ya's mind. Li Ya awakened from his daze, hurriedly stood, and cupped his hands toward the surrounding forest. May I ask which senior saved us? Li Xuanyu also rose and looked around. Unfortunately, no one answered. Boy, go look over there, the ancestor urged, directing Li Ya toward one side. Li Ya immediately walked in that direction. His body trembled. His injuries and the attempted soul seizure left him extremely uncomfortable. Meanwhile, Li Xuanyu examined the corpses of Shu Ruya and Qianji. She stabbed each body twice more, using sword qi to destroy their hearts. Li Ya walked roughly 200 zhang before stopping in front of a tree. His gaze landed upon one of its branches, and his heart shook. How is this possible? His voice trembled. A leaf had embedded itself in the branch. A thread of sword qi still coiled around it. Cracks covered the entire trunk as though the tree might explode at any moment. That person attacked from 10 li away. I could sense only the direction of the strike, not the slightest trace of his aura. The ancestor's voice was filled with wonder. Then he clicked his tongue in admiration. It seems the Taishuan sect is not quite as incompetent as it appears. A great cultivator truly guards its outer territory. Li Ya stared at the leaf and struggled to calm himself. Li Xuanyu arrived behind him. The moment she saw the leaf clearly, she too froze. Night fell. The Valley Master's pavilion in Mystic Valley was covered in lanterns and decorations. Guan and his disciples sat around a large round table, raising cups and drinking together in a joyful atmosphere. Xiaoshuan and Tang Yu were competing to see who could drink more. Xiaoshuan, the martial uncle, had already turned bright red, yet refused to admit defeat. Ignoring everyone who tried to stop him, he continued drinking. The alcohol was not ordinary wine. It was spirit wine Guan had specially purchased from the Outer Sect. A single jar cost 2 low-grade spirit stones, equal to 2 months of a servant disciple's stipend. After meeting those 2 demonic cultivators today, more of them will not come here later, will they? Su Han suddenly asked. The moment he spoke, the atmosphere at the table sank. Everyone's smiles disappeared, and worry appeared upon their faces. Guan smiled reassuringly. Do not worry. Outer disciples are patrolling nearby. Did you not see one today? Perhaps after this incident, the sect will increase the patrols. Inwardly, he was not worried at all. He remained immersed in joy. By killing Shu Rui and Qianji, he had successfully seized 112 years of lifespan. He was attempting to determine the pattern governing how much lifespan he obtained. For now, he could only conclude that the amount ranged between 5 and 20% of the target's remaining lifespan. The exact number appeared inconsistent, almost entirely dependent upon chance. Although killing cultivators yielded far more lifespan, Guan had no intention of seeking similar opportunities. The more enemies he killed, the sooner trouble would find him. It was safer to continue accumulating lifespan through medicinal plants. Beyond every expert stood a greater expert, and beyond every heaven lay another heaven. Guan could grow rapidly by killing enemies, but if he encountered someone far stronger than himself, he would still die. He had no idea how powerful the strongest cultivator in the mortal world might be. Still, he believed that if he remained hidden for another 1,000 or 10,000 years, he would eventually become invincible beneath the heavens. Everyone found Guan's reassurance reasonable, and the atmosphere soon became lively again. He stopped dwelling on his private thoughts and began chatting with his junior brothers, junior sisters, and disciples. He asked about their next cultivation goals. The conversation grew more animated until even Guan began drinking. Mystic Valley's first spring festival was completed perfectly. The gathering did not end until late at night. After everyone dispersed, Guan entered the Eight Sceneries Grotto Heaven. Jiang Qiong sat cross-legged beneath the Azure Vine tree, circulating her cultivation art. Demonic ki coiled around her body, making her appear sinister and frightening. Guan carried a box of food toward her. Grandmaster, today is Mystic Valley's Spring Festival. My junior sister prepared this food. Would you like to taste it? I wish Grandmaster a swift recovery of your cultivation. Jiang Qiong opened her eyes. The Spring Festival? What kind of holiday is that? Guan repeated the explanation he had prepared. No matter who asked, his answer was always that he had heard about it from an old man. Establishing a festival is not a bad idea. It can strengthen people's bonds. Jiang Qiong nodded approvingly, then looked toward the wooden food box in Guan's hands. He immediately set it down and removed the dishes one by one, along with a small jar of wine. The moment Jiang Qiong saw them, her beautiful eyes brightened. She considered for a moment. Since this represents your sincerity, I cannot refuse. She lifted a bowl and began shoveling food into her mouth, eating like a starving tiger. Guan hurriedly poured wine for her. At the same time, he asked curiously, Grandmaster, there is something I have never understood. Ask. Jiang Qiong spoke unclearly around the food. She accepted the bowl of wine and drained it in one swallow. Liquid covered the corners of her mouth, though Guan could not tell whether it was oil or wine. Why does the Heavenly Autumn Pavilion station its spies beyond the Outer Sect? I do not think Mystic Valley can gather any useful intelligence. Jiang Qiong shot him an irritated glance. Who told you to gather intelligence? Your role is to remain here quietly until the Azure Vine Tree matures completely. This place will become a stronghold of the Heavenly Autumn Pavilion. Other people are responsible for gathering intelligence. Guan became even more uneasy. What? They plan to turn this place into a stronghold? He frowned. Is Mystic Valley the only place that can become a stronghold? Of course not. Apart from Mystic Valley, at least 5 other Medicine Valley Masters are agents of the Heavenly Autumn Pavilion. They simply do not know one another's identities. More than 100 years ago, one of our agents already rose to become a personal disciple. By now, that person may have reached the rank of elder. Jiang Qiong answered casually. Guan fell silent. Had the Taishuan sect been infiltrated so thoroughly that it resembled a sieve? Jiang Qiong set down the empty plate and picked up a large chicken leg. The flavor is not bad. Although I achieved Anidia long ago, occasionally satisfying the appetite is pleasant. As a reward, I will teach you one of the Heavenly Autumn Pavilion's secret arts. What secret art? Guan asked expectantly. He had already learned many spells from Jiang Qiong. When it came to spells, the more he possessed, the better. After Jiang Qiong left, finding another grandmaster willing to teach him so diligently would be extremely difficult. Jiang Qiong took a large bite of chicken and smiled proudly. One of the Heavenly Autumn Pavilion's 9 great secret arts, the Demonic Shadow Divine Art. The Demonic Shadow Divine Art? That sounded. Guan frowned. Is it a cultivation art? He did not lack cultivation methods. If he changed arts and began again, he might have to recultivate all his spiritual power. He had no desire to waste lifespan that way. I already told you that it is a secret art. The Demonic Shadow Divine Art will help you become a better spy. You will understand later. Jiangxing remained deliberately mysterious. Her mouth was so full of chicken that she could barely fit in another bite. The corner of Guan's mouth twitched. I do not want to become a demonic spy. Fine. He would endure Jiang Qiong for now. In the future, once he entered the wider cultivation world, he could speak like a human when meeting humans, and like a ghost when meeting ghosts. A person's identity was whatever they chose to present. At noon the next day, Guan sat beneath a tree reading. 7 steps away, Ye Lan and Zhen Qin practiced swordsmanship, their movements graceful and elegant. Unfortunately, neither could draw Guan's attention away from his book. Eldest senior brother Liya has returned! Xiaoshuan ran over. Liya followed behind him. Guan immediately stood, tucked the Azure Hero's travels inside his robe, and walked toward Liya. Let us speak inside the pavilion, Liya said first. Guan nodded and led him upstairs. Zhen Qin stopped swinging her sword and looked toward Yi Lan. Martial Aunt Yi, did Martial Uncle Liya come because of those 2 demonic cultivators yesterday? She asked worriedly. Probably, Yilan said softly after glancing toward the pavilion. Inside the room, Guan and Liya sat across from one another. As Guan poured tea, he asked, What happened, Liya? Said, I plan to remain in Mystic Valley for half a year. Is that acceptable? Of course. You may stay as long as you wish. Did something happen? Guan agreed without hesitation and naturally asked about the reason. Liya hesitated before deciding to describe the previous day's events. Perhaps learning how dangerous the world was would pressure junior brother Gu into cultivating more diligently. Guan listened with widened eyes. Those 2 died? Will the myriad Yin sect come looking for trouble? Liya replied calmly. They attacked Li Xuanyu and me. If anyone seeks trouble, it will be the Taishuan sect seeking the myriad Yin sect. The imperial court will also place pressure upon them. Li Xuanyu is my imperial father's most beloved daughter. Guan asked in astonishment. They still dared attack Senior Li? Xu Ruye and Chanji committed countless evil acts and used ruthless methods. Chanji previously formed an enmity with Li Xuanyu in Ye City. After finally finding her isolated and vulnerable, they naturally refused to let the opportunity pass. And furthermore, Liya spoke with disdain but stopped before finishing. Furthermore what? Nothing. Guan suddenly wanted to hit him. If he was not going to explain, why say the words and furthermore at all? Liya looked at Guan. Since yesterday, did you clearly see anyone else pass near the Medicine Valley? Guan shook his head. You simply failed to notice them. Had that old Nascent Soul Senior not acted yesterday, Li Xuanyu and I would probably have died. That senior's sword Dao was terrifying. He plucked leaves and killed enemies from afar. Before him, a 9th-level Foundation Establishment cultivator was no different from vegetables growing in a field. A single leaf was enough to kill. The moment Liya began speaking about the battle, he became excited and vividly described everything. Guan widened his eyes and occasionally drew sharp breaths, behaving as though he were hearing a legend about immortals. That Nascent Soul Senior had merely thrown 2 leaves. Yet Liya used every phrase he knew to describe the scene, becoming increasingly animated. That is what a sword cultivator should be. Without holding a sword, he surpassed those who did. Anything in his hand could become a sword. even I. In any case, senior brother has finally discovered the direction he should follow. From now on, I will focus entirely upon sword cultivation and study the sword Dao. Admiration covered Li Ya's face. Guan nodded while secretly enjoying himself. Brother, you are praising that senior until flowers fall from the heavens, yet he is sitting directly before you. Unfortunately, your cultivation is still too shallow to see through him. Guan interrupted Li Ya's enthusiastic fantasies. The World Outer Sect tournament is such an important gathering. Why has the sect not mobilized disciples to patrol or sent anyone to protect servant disciples like us? Within 50 li of Mystic Valley, there were at least 6 cave residences belonging to outer disciples. Most of their owners were away, but if the sect issued an order, someone would certainly come. Li Ya's smile disappeared. He said dejectedly, "Why do you think someone inside the sect dared raise the greedy wrath demon outside the outer cities? Is it not because the sect does not value servant disciples? But do not worry. I will remain here and guard the valley until the World Outer Sect tournament ends." Guan remained silent for a moment. "You are not participating? My cultivation is insufficient. If I enter recklessly, I will only be injured. A gathering like this belongs to 9th level Foundation Establishment Cultivators." Li Ya shook his head. His words made Guan view him differently. At least Li Ya possessed excellent self-awareness. Of course, Xu Ruye might simply have dealt him too severe a blow. The two spoke for quite some time. After they descended, Guan asked Xiaoshuan and Tong Yu to clean a small courtyard so Li Ya could live there alone. Everyone in the valley was delighted to learn that Li Ya would remain for half a year. First, they would have someone protecting them. Second, they could learn swordsmanship from him. In their eyes, Guan was excellent in every respect except that he knew too few spells and could not guide them properly. Li Ya was different. He was a genuine Foundation Establishment cultivator. During the days that followed, cultivators frequently crossed the sky above Mystic Valley on flying swords. Guan also saw many flying magical artifacts and demonic beasts used as mounts. The sight filled him with emotion. This was what a cultivation world should look like. 1 month later, late at night, Jiang Qiong leaned against the azure vine tree with her right leg swinging idly. The hem of her robe had ridden upward, revealing a smooth, pale calf. She held a book in one hand and occasionally glanced toward Guan in the distance, where he was harvesting medicinal herbs. Suddenly, she sprang upright. The book flew into the pendant at her neck. She stretched lazily and loosened her limbs. "Good grand disciple, do not rush. Practice the demonic shadow divine art first." Jiang Qiong called out as she lightly leaped down and landed beside the pill furnace. A batch of pills was being refined inside, and waves of white smoke escaped from the lid. Without turning around, Guan said, "It is fine, I will finish soon." Jiang Qiong shook her head and laughed. "This child is truly diligent. How commendable. I should refine some pills for him." Half an incense stick later, Guan brought the harvested medicinal herbs to Jiang Qiong. He carefully arranged them on the ground according to type, making her even more satisfied. This child was truly impossible to criticize. Guan had gained more than 1,300 years of lifespan in one harvest, leaving him in an excellent mood. Opportunities like this did not appear every day. Continue practicing. If there is anything you do not understand, ask me at any time, Jiang Qiong said softly while watching the furnace. Guan nodded and began cultivating the demonic shadow divine art. He had already practiced it for a month, yet it still had not appeared on his attribute panel. The delay irritated him greatly. He had to master it now. The 8 Sceneries Grotto Heaven fell silent. Guan and Jiang Qiong sat cross-legged near the pill furnace while hazy pill smoke drifted around their figures. 4 days later, the demonic shadow divine art finally appeared on Guan's attribute panel. He examined it with a satisfied smile. Name, lifespan, 2712,200 Spiritual roots, first-class 5-element spiritual roots with wood and earth attributes being comparatively prominent. Cultivation, 8th level of the Nascent Soul Realm. Cultivation arts, fire control art, not yet mastered. Divine wood pure yang art, masterfully refined. Dragon whale divine origin art, masterfully refined. Alchemy, having only just found the path. Myriad gu profound art, not yet mastered. Yin yang art, not yet mastered. Ultimate arts, Raging Gale Shadowless Kick, completely integrated. Taikang Heaven Shocking Sword, completely integrated. 8 Directions Step, not yet mastered. Demonic Shadow Divine Art, not yet mastered. Spells, Soul Seizing Art, not yet mastered. Sword Flight, completely integrated. Bewitching Eye, not yet mastered. Lonewood Formation, having only just found the path. Wind Riding Art, not yet mastered. Corpse Control Art, not yet mastered. If they appeared on the attribute panel, then every one of them was genuine. Over the course of more than 5 years, Jiang Qiong had taught him 8 cultivation arts and spells. She was exceptionally responsible. The experience had changed Guan's opinion of her. She might be a demonic cultivator, but her attitude toward teaching surpassed that of many righteous cultivators. Guan stood and bowed. "Grandmaster, let us stop here tonight. I wish to return and rest." Jiang Qiong remained seated before the pill furnace, demonic qi drifting around her body. Without opening her eyes, she said, "Cultivate properly after you return. I will support you for at most another 2 years before leaving." Guan said nothing and turned away. Jiang Qiong opened one eye and watched his back. This child seems somewhat saddened. That is understandable. Where else could he find a grandmaster as good as me? He will be lonely after I leave. Once I return, I will find someone to replace him here and bring him to cultivate in the Heavenly Autumn Pavilion. At that time, I can ask Father to find that person and have them teach him the sword Dao. With his back to her, Guan walked quickly toward the tunnel. He desperately suppressed his joy to keep from laughing. She was finally going to leave. Jiang Qiong had treated him extremely well, but he still wanted to enjoy the 8 Sceneries Grotto Heaven alone. After returning to the mountain forest, Guan did not immediately head back to the pavilion. He traveled farther away, searching for a place where he could invest another year of lifespan into his cultivation. He felt that he was approaching the 9th level of the Nascent Soul Realm. The breakthrough might come within the next few days. Even though it seemed close, he restrained himself and continued investing only 1 year each day. After traveling 20 li, Guan sat beneath a tree. He suppressed his aura until it was almost indistinguishable from the surrounding grass and trees. He immediately invested 1 year of lifespan into his cultivation. Spiritual energy surged toward him. The grass and flowers nearby swayed as though waving banners and cheering, congratulating him upon his approaching breakthrough. Before long, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth returned to calm. He had completed 1 year of qi absorption. Guan stood and prepared to leave. Just as he took his first step, he sensed something and immediately concealed himself behind the tree. 4 breaths later, 2 piercing sounds swept overhead. 2 figures crossed the sky above him. Guan's eyesight was extraordinary, beyond anything an ordinary person could match. He caught a clear glimpse of both figures and immediately spent 2 years of lifespan to inspect them. Zuo Yijian, 9th level of the Core Formation Realm, 142-499-80. Zuo Lin, 2nd level of the Foundation Establishment Realm, 27-280-1400, a 9th level Core Formation Cultivator. Guan became curious about which faction they represented. Only after the two had traveled far away did he quietly return to Mystic Valley. The following morning, he led the disciples through their usual exercises. Liya greeted him and said he intended to visit the Outer Sect. Liya did not return on his flying sword until noon. He brought someone with him. It was Zuo Lin, whom Guan had inspected the previous night. "Junior brother Gu, allow me to introduce someone. This is Zuo Lin, a close friend from my childhood. He wishes to exchange sword techniques with me, so I have invited him to stay in my courtyard." Liya introduced him after approaching Guan. Zuo Lin wore yellow robes. He had a handsome face, with unmistakable pride between his brows. A treasured sword hung from his waist, and one glance was enough to tell that its grade was not low. Liya introduced Guan in return. Zuo Lin merely nodded slightly without speaking. Guan was not surprised. He smiled. "Then senior brother Li may allow him to stay." Liya nodded, a trace of apology in his eyes. Zuo Lin pulled Liya forward and spoke excitedly. "Ji Lin of the Ji clan was astonishing today. Did you see his sword art? It was incredibly profound. I think he has an excellent chance of becoming the final victor." Ji Lin? A handsome but arrogant face appeared in Guan's mind. Ji Lin had entered the Taishuan sect alongside Guan as part of Ji Xiaoyu's group. The two had rarely interacted, though Du Yi had previously visited Mystic Valley to collect medicinal herbs on Ji Lin's behalf. Guan had not expected Ji Lin to already display his brilliance in the World Outer Sect tournament. Ji Lin was not much older than Guan. Of course, his rapid progress was probably connected to the cultivation resources he received. With favorable treatment from the Taishuan sect and support from the Ji clan, swift advancement was understandable. Guan walked toward a tree while secretly listening to Liya and Zuo Lin's conversation. The World Outer Sect tournament had begun. Talented outer disciples from both righteous and demonic factions had gathered to determine who stood above the rest. From their discussion, the tournament followed a series of individual duels. Disciples who won repeatedly were already becoming famous. Guan did not hear Ji Xiaoyu's name. After thinking about it, that was natural. Ji Xiaoyu was not an outer disciple. Xiaoshuan, Wu Xin, and the others were extremely curious about Zuo Lin. They gathered in small groups and discussed him in hushed voices. Zuo Lin's arrival did not disrupt life in Mystic Valley. He looked down somewhat upon servant disciples. Normally, he only practiced swordsmanship with Liya, and then returned to his room to cultivate. Because of the two guests, Guan reduced how often he visited the 8 Sceneries Grotto Heaven. However, he maintained his daily cultivation plan. 1 month passed quickly. Guan finally reached the 9th level of the Nascent Soul Realm. That night, on his way back, his entire body felt light and relaxed. When he returned to Mystic Valley, he discovered someone practicing swordsmanship inside Li Ya's courtyard. He went back to his pavilion and stopped at the window immediately after entering his room. The swordsman was Zuo Lin. When Zuo Lin first arrived, Guan had assumed he was a sword genius. After watching him practice every day for an entire month, Guan realized that his sword talent was astonishingly ordinary. Guan now possessed considerable attainment in the sword Dao. He could judge that Zuo Lin's talent was not even equal to Su Han's. Su Han possessed the greatest natural sword talent in Mystic Valley. Even so, that distinction existed only within Mystic Valley. Outside, he might not attract much attention at all. Guan watched for a while before closing the window. The following morning, he descended from the pavilion and discovered that Zuo Lin was still standing in the courtyard, staring at the sword in his hand with furrowed brows. Guan called his junior brothers, junior sisters and disciples together for their morning exercises. The activity drew Zuo Lin's attention. "You should not force yourself too much when it comes to swordsmanship," Li Ya said softly as he approached him. "With your powerful spiritual root aptitude, perhaps waiting until your cultivation is higher before practicing the sword would allow you to achieve twice the result with half the effort." Zuo Lin's expression darkened. "No, I must become a sword cultivator. My father is the sword madman of Konghu." Li Ya intended to persuade him further, but then reconsidered. Was he not the same? Both of them wanted to prove themselves to their fathers. Zuo Lin watched Guan and the others exercise. For some inexplicable reason, he felt that Guan's movements contained a unique profundity. He was performing exactly the same actions as everyone else, yet when Guan executed them, they seemed filled with hidden mysteries. At first, Zuo Lin believed he was imagining things. The longer he watched, however, the more certain he became that he had not been mistaken. Li Ya did not continue disturbing him. He turned and headed toward the mountain forest. He also required a great deal of time to cultivate. Although he rarely mentioned his defeat at Shu Ruye's hands, the matter remained lodged in his heart. He did not want to lose again. After completing the exercises, Guan allowed everyone to attend to their own responsibilities. By now, he no longer needed to arrange every task in the valley personally. Wu Xin was gradually assuming the authority of the eldest disciple. Xiaoshuan had a quieter personality and disliked commanding or organizing others, so he willingly yielded the role to Wu Xin. As for Yi Lan, there was even less to say. She had devoted all her attention to preparing for the Outer Sect examination. For disciples with ordinary aptitude like hers, there was only one path into the Outer Sect. They had to reach the 9th level of the Qi refining realm, take the examination, and pass. The Outer Sect would then provide them with a foundation establishment pill. If they broke through to the foundation establishment realm on their own, they would not need to take the examination. Guan was considering whether he should improve his alchemy and refine foundation establishment pills for his junior brothers and sisters. All the necessary medicinal ingredients could be found within the valley. The difficulty lay entirely in the refining process. Yilan still needed some time to reach the 9th level of Qi refining, giving Guan room to consider the matter. Shishawan remained much farther away. With the aptitude possessed by most people, even cultivating bitterly for an entire lifetime might not allow them to reach the 8th level of the Qi refining realm. Guan walked toward the pavilion and drew the Azure Hero's travels from inside his robe. Expectation appeared on his face. He had deliberately saved the final 5 chapters for a day with clear skies and gentle wind, a torrential rain. The Azure Hero and Lady Yin meeting inside an abandoned temple. The love, resentment, gratitude, and hatred between them were about to erupt violently. Merely thinking about it filled Guan with anticipation. "Brother Guan." Zuo Lin's voice came from behind. Guan turned and saw him hurrying over. When Zuo Lin stopped before him, he appeared somewhat embarrassed. Guan did not care about the man's earlier arrogance. He smiled. "Brother Zuo, is something the matter?" Zuo Lin clenched his teeth. "I find that set of movements you practice extremely profound. Could you teach it to me?" "No problem. Let us go beneath that tree," Guan replied. Zuo Lin froze. He had not expected Guan to agree so easily, and shame immediately filled his heart. He hurried after him. The two reached the courtyard in front of the pavilion. Guan did not waste words and began teaching him the exercise. Zuo Lin possessed an excellent memory. After Guan demonstrated it once, he had already memorized the entire sequence. "Is that all?" Zuo Lin asked with a frown. Guan looked puzzled. "Is it not enough? Those are all the movements. What about the internal mental method?" "There is no mental method. Impossible. Without a mental method, how can you?" Zuo Lin frowned even more deeply. His reaction confused Guan. "How can I what?" Zuo Lin answered urgently. "You give me a completely different feeling. Although you perform the same movements as everyone else, the result is entirely different. You must possess an internal method." Guan felt helpless. Had this child practiced swordsmanship until his mind became strange? Seeing Guan's expression, Zhuo Lin grew even more embarrassed. Reason told him that an ordinary servant disciple could not possibly conceal a peerless internal art, yet the sensation he had felt earlier could not be wrong. From childhood, Zhuo Lin had been extraordinarily sensitive to a person's aptitude and aura. Even his master praised him for possessing an exquisite heart and exceptional judgment of others. The servant disciple standing before him was definitely not simple. Zhuo Lin's eyes moved thoughtfully. How about this? I will teach you a sword art, and you can attempt it. Guan originally intended to refuse. However, judging from Zhuo Lin's expression, rejecting him would probably be difficult. He could only nod in agreement. Learning it cost him nothing. Seeing that Guan carried no sword, Zhuo Lin withdrew a longsword from his storage pouch and handed it to him. Then he drew the treasured sword at his waist and began demonstrating his technique. This brat truly understands nothing. Why is he swinging so quickly? Guan cursed inwardly, though his expression remained intensely focused. In the distance, Tongyu and Suhan noticed the scene. They did not dare approach and could only watch from afar. If Master learns it, will he not be able to teach us? Suhan asked expectantly. Among all weapons, he loved the sword most. No matter how many cultivation paths existed, only the way of the sword truly drew his heart. Tongyu nodded. As long as Master learns it, we can ask him. He will never refuse. In their hearts, Guzon was the best master imaginable. The only question was whether he could learn Zhuo Lin's sword art. The answer was naturally yes. Guan had invested 2,000 years of lifespan into the 7 swords of the Li family. His attainments in the sword Dao were already extraordinarily high. The sword art Zhuo Lin demonstrated was not poor. However, in Guan's judgment, it was inferior even to the 7 swords art evolved from the Li family's 7 swords, much less the peerless 9 swords. That was understandable. Zhuo Lin would hardly teach his strongest sword art to someone he had only recently met. When he finished, Zhuo Lin turned toward Guan.
How much did you remember?
Guan shook his head. Perhaps 20%, I am not certain. Your swordsmanship was so smooth and rapid that it left me dizzy. I have already forgotten some of the earlier movements. Zhuo Lin frowned and immediately told him to demonstrate what he remembered. Guan began performing the sword art he had just been taught. His movements were hesitant, and every sword position appeared stiff. Zhuo Lin's brows drew tighter and tighter. In the distance, Tongyu's and Suhan fell into despair. It seemed Master truly could not learn it. Guan awkwardly completed the sequence. Zhuo Lin refused to give up and demonstrated it again. This time he moved more slowly. Even so, Guan still pretended that he could not remember everything. After half an hour of torment, Guan found an excuse and left. Zhuo Lin angrily sought out Li Ya and complained that Guan had been making a fool of him. After hearing the reason, Li Ya did not know whether to laugh or cry. He truly has no talent for the sword. More importantly, he dislikes sword training. Is that true? Zhuo Lin's anger eased somewhat. Even so, he could not stop remembering the way Guan had performed the morning exercises. He continued feeling that Guan was hiding something. He is my junior brother. How could I not know him? Li Ya glared at Zhuo Lin, then warned him. Stop pestering him. Allowing you to stay here is already generous of me. If you continue troubling him, return to the Outer Sect and find your father. Zhuo Lin fell into thought. His gaze drifted toward Guan's pavilion, and no one could tell what he was thinking. Elsewhere, inside the pavilion, Guan sat cross-legged on his bed with his eyes closed. He was recalling the sword art Zhuo Lin had demonstrated. Slowly, he opened his eyes. Sword light flashed within them. He summoned his attribute panel. A new entry had appeared beneath Ultimate Arts. Wood Spirit Sword Art. Wood Spirit? Was it a wood-attributed sword art? Guan's divine wood pure yang art belonged to the wood element. If he cultivated a wood-attributed spell, he could achieve far greater results with less effort. Previously, he had also learned the lone wood formation from Jiang Qiong extremely quickly. For the time being, however, he had no intention of evolving this sword art. First, he needed to accumulate 100,000 years of lifespan. 1,000 years had unlocked lifespan inspection. 10,000 had unlocked the lifespan barrier. Reaching 100,000 years should unlock another function. He had been looking forward to it for a long time.